All right, just on time. Okay, good morning, all. I assume you're waiting for some other people to join as well.
Hey, good morning. Can you hear me? Joseph, you on the call? Can someone hear me? Okay, perfect. Yeah, let's give it a few minutes. And then Joseph is gonna be taking.
Oh, maybe I'm not
Oh,
I'm not
exactly.
getting
You
Mr.
can't
Edison.
hear
Let me
me.
let me just adjust my settings. Apologies.
Great, great.
Okay, all good now.
Okay. Good morning. You can hear me now, well, Joseph?
Yes, I can.
Okay, perfect. Great to have you today as our mentor at this hour. We are having about 3 to 4 different pods going on at the moment. I'm having the ones for data science, and that we're having another for the mobile going on. So I'm gonna leave you in control for the guys of web, and also through all those other things, prepare Trello and the rest. Um, the feedback I got yesterday's session was fantastic, perfect. However, they requested us to be a little bit slow, not super fast.
Okay.
They're enjoying the sessions. Yeah, so you may need to as well try to get at least feedback instantly as you proceed, if you're fast, if you're slow, and what you need to speak more about, so that it's coherent. So thank you. You are now in charge. I'm dropping off to engage with the guys of data science. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Thank you very much.
All right.
All right. Let's see. Good morning, everyone. A one in the chat or emoji if you are a mentee. 'Cause I know there may be some mentors here, probably. So if you're a mentee, okay. Welcome, Andrew. Casey Andrew is a mentee for sure. I'll also try and keep notes of your names, Vanessa. Okay, welcome. Welcome. Okay. All right. Well, in the interest of time, let's just begin there. And also, I'm going to ask a bit of an odd one. Andrew and Vanessa, would you consider yourselves like comfortable with these ideas or less comfortable? Like, I'm not necessarily asking you to rate yourselves. I just want to know how comfortable you are with like the web and application stuff and all that stuff. So like one being okay in the chat, one being fresh as just fresh, and five being oh yeah, I got this in the chat. Just 1 to 5. Just want to get a lay of the land here of the Andrew and Vanessa. Just in the chat. Okay, Andrew's a 2. Yeah, that's fine. Okay, I do understand this is a small sample size as well. Andrew's a 2. Okay, Vanessa. Okay, it's fine. So Vanessa, I'll get your feedback maybe throughout the call as well. Okay, so let me share my screen here. Let me just share my screen here. And okay, just as Mr. Edison said, now I do have a problem of specifically speaking fast, especially like, towards the middle of the session, I can start to do that. If that happens, simply just let me know. Just let me know, hey, slow down for a bit and all that stuff. But let me just share my screen right now. Right now. So let's do here. Share screen. Let's see here. Should probably close a bunch of apps. Let me close this, close that. All right, so let me just share my screen. Share. Screen one. Share. Okay, so just emoji if you can see my screen right now. Okay, cool. So, all right, good morning, once again, officially. My name is, well, first of all, this is day 2. Well, from my perspective, it's day 2 because there are many pods happening at the same time. So this is day 2, week 1. Okay, and in this session, we're gonna do an intro to Trello. Okay, which we'll see what that is. Then some web development and APIs. Okay. So if you had thought this was some other session, well, now you know. You can still stick around though. And so, okay, so this is week 1, day 2. I will start by introducing myself, of course. My name is Joseph Amukun. Okay, I'm from Kumi, because invariably someone always asks that. So I'm from Kumi. I mean, I'm the head of tech at AIM Consortium Ltd, which is a startup that we have where we create web products actually for small to medium enterprises. Okay, so I can consider myself as part of industry. Okay, there's my GitHub and my LinkedIn's. You can connect if you like. Actually, what I'm going to do is I'm also going to post these slides right now, a link to these slides in the chat. So because I know some folks may want to look ahead. So let me just do that. Share. Anyone with the link can comment. Okay. So I'm actually going to also put this in the chat right now. So let's see. Let me go to the chat here. And let me just post the link. Just give me 1 second. Okay, let me do this. Okay, let me do this. Paste it here. All right, so I believe I've set up the permissions correctly so that you can just access them. There, so let me just paste that here. Okay. Find the chat, and there's the chat, and let me post here. Link to presentations, to presentation slides. One thing that someone told me to be mindful of is my keyboard is in fact loud. Okay, kind of. So if that's troublesome, let me know as well. But there, I've just posted the link to these slides here. If I make a change to these slides, maybe afterwards, if I include something that someone brought up, you'll still be able to see this as well live because it's a Google slide. Okay, so now let me just go back to the slideshow. All right, so yeah, Ahead of Technology, that's my GitHub, that's my LinkedIn. Connect, just mention you're from the internship, and yeah, you'll get a connection request allowed. Let's see. This one's important, especially for the mentees. I love being interrupted with questions. Okay, have no fear. I actually love being asked questions, and part of the reason I love that is well, of course, the first one is to answer them, and so you can have information that you didn't. But also, a lot of the questions are going to be things that I don't know, which is exciting for me because we can get to figure that stuff out together. Okay, that's just part of learning. I love to learn, experiment, and share resources, which is also good news for the mentees. And, just as a bit, Interstellar is my favorite film, second favorite. It's a really good film. And Radiolab is one hell of a good podcast. Yeah, so that's just about me there. So let me just proceed. Okay, so what we will learn today We're actually going to start with Trello, okay? Then we're going to go to what web development entails, and then how to write your first web application. Okay, I will go slow though. I will go slow. Okay, at least I'll try. And then the tools we will set up and install: Node.js, Python, React, FastAPI. We'll get here when we get here. Okay. But first, let's do Trello. Let's do Trello first because so Trello. Now, if you've been part of a software development team, it doesn't even have to be software development. It could be some other project, right? Any project needs a way for people who are in the project to know what's going on, right? By what's going on, I mean who is assigned such and such a task. When is the deadline for that task? Is this person done with the task that they had, or are they still working on it, right? And the reason you would want to use, because I mean, these are all things that you can do on WhatsApp. Sure, you can do it. You can even do it via email. And as a matter of fact, I think before, things like project management tools like Trello, I would imagine people were using like emails or text message or something like that. But you can see the problem with that, especially when your team gets big. Okay, now if you're solo, if you're working on a project solo, I mean, it is arguable whether you'd need something like this. But you would still have a way of tracking your progress, right? Maybe a notes app somewhere or some kind of to-do list here and there, okay? But the moment you enter into a team, especially out there in industry, you're probably going to join one of these um, product development tools, right? Trello is a popular one. Let's see. Yeah, we'll be using it to keep track of which stage we're in. I may need a volunteer from the audience at some point because we're going to follow along just to make sure that if you can create your Trello account, you do. Okay. So yeah, we'll keep track of which stage we are in the in the product development lifecycle. Okay. Project management. Okay. Okay. So typically the breakdown of a team would be, you have this product manager. Okay, you have a product manager, and that's kind of, well, the person who kind of makes sure that everyone else is behaving in terms of, being on track and on budget and all that stuff. And typically, they would be the ones to set something like this up and then invite other people to join the Trello board or something like this. And we're going to see all this. Okay. But in this case, of course, I will be taking the place of the product manager. Okay. Okay. There are some prerequisites before we get into the live demo. For this part, smartphone or computer with an active email address, internet connection. As if you don't already have a Trello account, these are the things minimally that you will need to do that. Okay. And so let's actually just go there. Yes, Arnold. I don't know if you have anything. Oh, I think you've just joined as well. So I think Coney has just joined as well. Okay, so Arnold, I don't know if your microphone's unmuted accidentally, but if you have something to say, you can say that, and I'll try and get to it. Also, I should mention, if you have a question, I'll try and keep an eye on the chat as well. Okay. If you feel like my eye's not in the chat, you can raise your hand as well, and I'll get to you as well. Okay. So for Arnold and Coney, who have just joined, we're setting up Trello. Okay. Yes, this is indeed the web session, because you may be confused as to why we're doing this, but just part of any software project is making sure that people can keep track of where the project is. Okay. This is the same for other projects as well. And so that's why we're setting up Trello to begin with, before we get into like the web stuff. Okay, just to make sure everyone has an account and you can be invited and all that. Now, I'm gonna request maybe one of you to say, because what's gonna, as we go through this, it's going to reach a point where I'm going to invite one of you to the Trello board, okay, via your email address. So if you feel like you have a stable internet connection and you're gonna be around, just let me know in the chat, okay? But yeah, we'll need some volunteer participation. It could be more than one of you as well. I just need your email, active email. Okay, so I'll be keeping an eye on the chat for that. All right, so let's go straight into the demo, the live demo. Okay, let's see. Spare a moment to follow along. Okay, if you want to load your bundles again, this is where you do it. Okay, and so what we're gonna do, actually, you know what? I can do this. So let me just escape. There's going to be a lot happening on the screen, okay, in this session because I'm going to be switching between multiple, browsers and screens, and there may even be a whiteboard somewhere in there. I will do my best to let you know what is happening as it happens, okay? So I won't assume too much, okay? So, okay, to start, also, if you've just joined, the link to the slides are in the chat. So that's a good way to kind of look ahead and also copy these links over here. All right, so we're gonna go to Trello just now. And so let me just do that. Let me just make sure. I'm already signed in here. Okay, let me sign out. I don't need to sign out. Let me just do a new tab. We're gonna go to Trello.com. Okay, because I'm signed in, it obviously takes me to let me log out. I'll log back in, no problem. Let's log out. All right, so when you go to Trello.com, you will see this page, okay? And actually, okay, if you're trying to follow along, let me know if I'm going too fast. So you will see that page over here. You see this page over here. And then you're gonna go and you're gonna click get Trello for free. If you're on desktop, this is exactly what you will see if you're on a computer. If you're on a phone, because of course the layout is different, that button may be somewhere else, okay? But there'll definitely be a button that says either sign up or get Trello for free in this case, okay? When you do that, you will be presented with this page where you're going to enter your email address, okay? Because of course you're going to get some kind of notification that you created your account, et cetera, et cetera. So make sure you use an email address that you have access to right now if you are following along. Just to be somewhat explicit in the chat, if you are following along with this, if you're creating your Trello account right now, raise your hand just so I can see if there's anyone I need to keep an eye on in terms of questions. So this is your chance to raise your hand if you are actually following along, either via, if you have the slides, if you're advancing or not. Okay, so Martha is following along. All right. Take note of that. Oh, no, so Connie's following along. Okay, all right. So Martha's following along, Connie's following along. Just noting that down. All right, so here is where you'd enter your email address. Now, somewhat surprisingly, after you enter your email address and click sign up, you'll be, at least I was presented with this screen. Okay, I expected them to send me an email saying, verify or something. That actually comes later, okay? In my at least the way that I was doing it this morning. On desktop, you get presented with this. What this is just kind of onboarding, right? Onboarding, where they just take you through what you can do, okay, before your account is created. So you're going to see a screen like this. Just click the arrow button at the top here if you're on desktop, and then just continue, right? It's kind of the equivalent of doing next, 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 next. And then when you do, okay, I'm now at the last screen. When you do, there's a button that you may miss that's called one last thing, okay? So that's what you click. Okay, and when you click that, then what you will see is the thing you expected, which is an email will be sent to, a notification will be sent from Atlassian, I think, to your email account. I did this morning. Okay, so we can see an email there. That's kind of my throwaway email. And so you should be able to see a code which you're going to enter into here. Okay. in my case, that was the email that I got. Okay. It's okay for me to show this because, well, that code is now expired, probably. I've already owned it, so you can't really do anything nefarious there. So yeah, so E3J5MD was my code, and I just, as you can see, this was 8 a.m. So I just did this, and I entered that in here. Okay. Now, for those following along, I have no way of knowing where you are unless you let me know. So in the chat, for example, oh, by the way, if you're comfortable with unmuting yourself and speaking, that's probably the quickest way. But also in the chat, you can just say, done or on the registration or still registering or something like that. You can just type that quickly in the chat there. Or if you're following along and you already have a Trello account, also let me know, right? So if either Martha or Connie already have a Trello account, let me know. But if you don't, just let me know where you are right now, because I want to make sure that you follow smoothly. Okay. And you can do so in the chat. I'll wait about 30 seconds for you to tell me. Just like I'm at the point, received email or something like that. Or unmute, I guess. You can also do that. As a helicopter flies above my head. Haven't got the email. Okay, yeah. So, okay, yeah, that part may take a while. Check your Connie, check your spam folder, maybe. But it's also understandable that you haven't got the email yet because email actually it takes long. It seems instantaneous, but sometimes it isn't. Okay. So check your spam folder, spam or something like that. Or I don't know, sometimes the browser takes long to get that, so try to refresh your browser when you're in the email or something like this. Okay. Or if the email is still not coming around, you can also try to restart the process. Go to Trello.com and create an account or something like that. I haven't got the email with the code, but I'm at the part. Oh, okay. Okay. My Trello board. Oh, my Trello board. Let's see. Let's see. Okay, so my Trello board, was that in the back? Was that in the oh, spoilers. One moment. All right. Sorry, it's got an interruption. Okay, so let's see. My Trello board. Okay. Actually, I think Martha, you've passed this part as well. Well, for me, I had the email address being verified, screen, right, after I entered the code that was sent. And then I was brought here. And on this page, you don't need to pay much attention to this. There's more onboarding that's going on here. Onboarding is a term that is used in a lot of places. I'll also make sure to call out jargon that's being used, right? I don't want to say a word and assume that you know what it means. So onboarding, it's basically when you create, in this case, when you create some kind of application or product, and people are, have created their accounts for the first time, it is useful for you to help them find their way around the application or even, yeah. So for example, like this, where it says, oh, go to your first board. And so this, I clicked go to my first board in this one. And then more onboarding here as well. Down there, you can see 1, 2, 3 panels. I just clicked next, next, and next. And then I was here. It brought me here. So Martha, is this the page that you were speaking of when it said my Trello board? Did it look anything like this? Or basically, Was it just a page with stuff on it with like maybe your account somewhere with the does this look familiar for Martha as well? Just gonna wait 30 seconds for that confirmation. Okay, great. So Martha's here. So what has happened is, okay, they've brought you into oh yeah, my Trello board. I can see that right there. Okay, my Trello board. And this is an example of a board, right? And so I think right now I can go to the browser, the real browser. Yes, okay. So I'm going to depart from the slides and I'm going to go to my actual browser here to the My Trello board page. Let's see. Where was that? Was it here? Okay. So I'm just finding the browser where I did that. Okay, I remember logging out. Okay, there's a Kesho 1, I think. There you go. All right, so here we are. Now, a board belongs to a project, okay? So let's say that you're creating some kind of, I don't know, some app to do e-commerce or maybe find, incident response or something, whatever project you're working on. The board, you can think about the board as a folder kind of for that application. And so what I'm going to do is in the slides, let me see, do I have somewhere? Okay, in the slides on this page, I hate that I have to keep clicking slideshow. I'm going to create a board, okay, just for demo. I'm going to call it project name, product development lifecycle. Okay, now I'm just going to copy this. I'm just going to copy this. However, you will notice that the board you represented was already there, right? And you may be thinking, well, how do I create my own board? So this board is just Trello's way of saying, hey, you can start here and explore. But if you want to create your own board, what you do is, okay, I'm going to go to the top left over here in Trello just to go to the home, kind of the home page. Okay, my home page. So my home page looks like this. Yours may be different. Okay. You don't need to pay too much attention to the Jira part. Jira is another one of those project management tools. Okay, owned by the same company. Atlassian owns Trello. They also own Jira. Jira is the one that Trello is kind of like the little brother of Jira, by my understanding. So you don't need to pay too much attention to here. Obviously, I have recently viewed. You may also have recently viewed there as well. But to create a new board, okay, a new board is a new project and you want to create a new board, maybe as the project manager or something like this. I'm going to go down here and I'm going to create new board. We have to give that board a title, okay, down here. So I'm just going to paste what I copied, project name, product lifecycle. Okay, maybe let me give this something. Let's say, okay, I'm just gonna kind of make this up right now. Let's just say we're doing something for a restaurant or something, right? We've got a client and they want this thing that helps them manage their restaurant and things. And so, we're gonna create a new board for that. I'm gonna call it restaurant system or something like this. Restaurant system, product development, life cycle. Okay. There's this visibility. I didn't call this out, but all your boards are part of a workspace. Okay. Now a workspace, what's that like? If the board is a folder, a workspace. Okay, so a workspace can have many boards. Okay, so it's kind of like a folder in which there are boards, but a workspace is you can have many boards in a workspace. Okay, so every board that you create by default when you create your new account, Trello drops you into a Trello workspace. Okay, so you are immediately inside of Trello workspace when you create your new account, and we're gonna keep in this workspace. okay? Because there's some features that we don't have access to because we are using the free version of Trello, okay? So there's some things that we won't have access to at the moment, but let's just keep ourselves in the Trello workspace. Just know a workspace can have many boards. Now, this board we're creating, the visibility is asking us, look, who do you want to be able to see this board? And we just, okay, the options we have are private. In other words, let's see, board members, Trello workspace can see and edit this board. Okay, so this is more restricted. So by default, it's in workspace mode, which is kind of less restrictive than private mode, but it's also more restrictive than public. Public means literally anyone on the internet can find this board, okay? It's the equivalent of maybe getting a Google link and saying anyone with the link can edit. Yeah, that's what public is. Yeah, so it's right there. So by default, it's in workspace mode. So we'll keep it that way. It's a sensible default. And then now I can either create this, in which case I will have to create everything from scratch, sort of, or you can start with a template. Okay, so I'm going to click start with a template here. And there's so many templates that you can explore on your own time. I'm going to use Agile board template because this is kind of what it's a sensible default to use for like a software project or any kind of project, to be sincere. But yeah, I'm going to use the Agile board template. I'm going to click on that. And then we get this screen that is just kind of like a confirmation. Oh, hold on a second. Template details. Okay. So visibility, we get another visibility screen here. I'm going to set this to workspace as well. Okay, I definitely don't want it to be public. I could. Let's see, board members and Trello workspace admins can see this. Okay, actually, you know what? Let me make it private. Let me make it private to our board. Okay, and so I'm gonna click create. I'm also going to make sure that keep cards is marked. Just the cards they're talking about are from the template that we're using. Okay, so we're going to carry those over as well. Okay, and so I'm going to create. And here we go. So this kind of looks similar to the first part that we were dropped into when we just created the Trello account. Okay, and so, okay, this is the a board right here, and maybe it's a little bit overwhelming. And so let's pare things down a little bit. So there's so many cards in here. And if I go back to the slides over here, okay, I've named this, let's see, I'll name my, okay, demo project. So I definitely changed this. That's fine. And then I'm going to go to here. Okay, so now that I have a board, let me first start by inviting some people, right, into the project. And so I'm going to go back to Trello. I'm going to go in here. And this is the volunteer part that I was requesting. So if you are comfortable with sharing your email, because I'm going to paste it in here, and also you're going to put it in the chat. If you're comfortable and you're following along and you would like to get an invite to this board, help me out by pasting your email, specifically the one that you used to create your Trello account in the chat. Okay, so you can copy and paste that so I can invite you to this here Trello board. I'll wait about 30 seconds for that, or maybe 40 seconds. It's okay if you're not comfortable doing that. I have a plan B as well. Okay. All right. So okay. So I've got Aaron here who's pasted it. Thank you very much. I also have Martha here who's pasted it. Okay. So I copy that link. Oh, and also call me. All right. So I'm going to invite you here, and I'm going to click share. And I'm going to do email addresses, email address or name rather. So I'm going to start with Aaron's right here. And notice I can post many email addresses. I can paste many email addresses. And so I'm also going to copy Martha's here as well. And I'm also going to copy Connie's here as well. Okay, thank you for volunteering. Okay. And then I can choose, are these people you're inviting, are they members or observers? Premium feature. Okay. So we already know the business model they're using. I think you'll have one on this as well in one of the sessions. But yeah, so they keep some features, you have to pay. But we're perfectly fine with member right now. So I pasted your all three of your email addresses over here. I'm going to click share. Now, of course, because I'm the one who created the board, by default, I'm the admin. Okay. And we see a bunch of premium feature here as well. Because I'm admin, I'm kind of by default a member, so I don't need to do that. But anyway, so I'm going to share this. I'm going to click share. And okay, so I see that it appears as though, the folks here have been added. However, you still need to go to your emails in which you will see a notification that says, Joseph is inviting you to this board, for example. Okay, so I'm gonna wait I'm gonna wait maybe a minute for three of you to go to those emails and then click the I forget what the button's called, something like join board or something like that. And then when you're done, just let me know in the chat as well. You can type done, done, done. Okay, because if someone does not actually confirm the invitation to this board on their end, they may not be able to actually receive these notifications and updates and all that kind of stuff. Okay, so yeah, so if I put your email over here, go visit that email. It may take a sec, as we've seen previously. So, and then click the join board button. Just click that. And then let me know when you're done. I'll just wait 1 minute here as I go back to my slides for a second. Okay, Coney's done. Thank you. Okay. So wait 30 more seconds. Also, if I do go back into the Trello board and you hadn't been done, it's okay. You can be done afterwards. Okay. Aaron is done. Thank you. Pressure's on Martha now. No pressure. But again, if I do go back to the Trello board, it's fine. You can be done later, like not right now as well. And you'll still be able to get all that stuff. Okay, just to ease the pressure on Martha for a second, I'm just going to go back to the board. And what we're going to do is actually let's study this board for a second. So we see what look like cards over here. And each of these cards is kind of is to indicate what tasks or things are currently here. For example, if we look at the done one on the left, remember we were using a template, so we didn't do any of this, right? But if we look at the done one on the far left, the way to read this is, oh, we are done reviewing the tech partner pages. We are done making sure sponsors are indicated for Tech Talk, okay? And then we can see, okay, what are we doing right now? That's in progress. Well, right now, the Android app is probably new landing pages are being added on Android, okay? What's on hold? This stuff is on hold. What's next? This stuff is next. Questions that you may have, maybe, so you can really turn this and arrange it in a way that best fits the way your team works, right? Or even you as a solo person, right? You still need to keep track of your stuff. Okay, but we're going to change the cards a little bit because here, okay, so the invite is done. You've all received invitations. You've clicked the link in the email to accept. Okay, now I will create different cards. Okay, now we use the template, so cards already exist. Some of these cards already exist, but the cards from left to right should be labeled backlog, to do this week, in progress, and done. Okay, now we already have done over here. Done already exists, so we can kind of keep that one. Do we have in progress over here? Yes, we do. Okay, so in progress is also done for us. Let's see, to do this week. To do this week, does that exist over here? Unlikely. Okay, to do this week. And actually, I may take this opportunity to just remove some of the extra cards that we will not need. And this part is a bit interesting. Okay, to quote unquote remove a card, one way to do it is to click the three buttons up here and archive it. Okay, so I don't see, and I've never actually seen an explicit delete button on one of these cards. And so I'm going to just archive this and it's gone. I suppose the reasoning is you could have deleted things accidentally and you would be able to like undo because it's not actually deleted. But okay, so I'm going to archive a bunch of these cards. I'm going to archive that, just to make it a bit more digestible here without having to think about other cards. Junk drawer, marketing ideas. Okay, questions. Let me just archive that. Next up, archive that. On hold. Okay, let me archive this actually. Current sprint. We'll talk about this probably. Let me archive this. All right, so now we have done and in progress. So this is a nice, this is a nice place to add the others. So, okay, so let's add backlog and let's see what that means, right? Because this is again one of those jargon that is used in industry. So I'm going to add another list. Now this may not be visible to you just because of the contrast, but there's an add another list button here, which I'm going to click. And when we click it, we can create the name. The name was backlog. Okay. Okay. Add list, and you're done. You have now created a list called backlog. Now, also notice that backlog is supposed to be on the left. This is a bit of one of those requirements that have been painted by the slides. So you can move this backlog to the left just fine. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to click and hold my, let's see. Yeah, so I'm going to click and hold. I guess on mobile, it would be tap and hold, right? I'm just going to move this and we can see the cards move to the right. And now backlog is on the left. Okay, so quite intuitive. Let's see, what's the next one? To do this week. Okay. Let's create a to do this week one. Oh, and actually, in the spirit of of interactivity, I think one of you, maybe Coney or Aaron, can try to create the this card over here. To do this week. Don't mind if you don't capitalize it, but to do this week, and yeah, to do this week. I don't know if anyone wants to volunteer for that between Aaron and Coney. If you would like to, you can thumbs up and I'll let you get to it. I'll just wait maybe 30 seconds for that. Yeah, so let me know if you actually want to create that card first so I know that someone's going to be doing that. Right. And so now this is all about communication. All this project management stuff, it really comes down to communication, right? Knowing what's where, who's doing what. And so, of course, just like we're doing on WebEx over here, or in some WhatsApp group or something, because you can use Trello in conjunction with other stuff, right? Just the way you communicate normally. So I can be like, oh, hey, Aaron, I'm kind of going to town at the moment, but if you can, just go and create this card, et cetera, et cetera. And when I come back, it's going to be right there. Now, I need to make sure that I actually haven't missed like some kind of permission something here. Let's see if you remember my activity. Okay, so I'm not seeing any volunteers in the chat for creating that card. Also, let me know if you cannot create it, like if you've tried and things are failing, just let me know. as well. So I can see if there's any permissions kind of stuff there. But okay, so I'll create it. It's fine. Do this week, copy, paste, add list. We're done. Let's see. Is there any other one we have? Okay, backlog to do this week in progress. I'm going to move to do this week over here. In progress and done. Okay. Okay. And so now we've created the so-called lists. And if I want to add a card in there, I can say, okay, oh, first of all, backlog. A backlog is, and this is a term that's also used in other contexts as well. A backlog is something like, we know we're supposed to be doing this thing. However, for now, let's do some other stuff, and then we'll come back to this specific task when we get the time, right? So it's something you're supposed to be doing, but it's not being done right now, okay? Like no one has plans of doing it this week. It's obviously currently not in progress, and you're not done, right? And so you put that in the backlog. And so let me do something like, what was this? A restaurant system? Let's see. So a nice place to begin is to go talk to the customer, right? So visit the customer to clarify what features are most important to them, right? Always be doing this. If you could talk to your customers, please do. Okay, and I just clicked outside, and here we go. This is currently in the backlog, okay? And probably when you maybe join a project, this is the subjective part, so it depends on your team. A bunch of stuff will start in the backlog, and then they'll just move. So for example, if you join the board and maybe, okay, you can move just in the same way that you can move these lists, you can also move the cards within the list, right? So if something was in progress, but then something happened and you have to put it in the backlog to be revisited later, you can just do the same thing that you did, which is I'm going to click and I'm going to drag it to the backlog like so, right? So let me just drag all that stuff in the backlog. Analytics is currently in progress. Okay, I'm just going to do that. I'm also kind of obsessive about organization and documentation. So, this may be enjoyable for if you're that kind of person. Okay, so things would normally start here. Okay, again, it depends on how you've been communicating with each other. And then we can say, okay, maybe some kind of meeting or a sprint. And a sprint is it really is just a short period of time in which you get to do things, okay? In the most fancy way of terming it, it really is a stretch of time. It's a stretch of time in which you're going to do tasks. So sprints can go for 2 weeks is the most common that I've found myself in as well. Your sprint can be as long or as short as your team agrees, right? It depends on the vibe, okay, which is not really kind of is a vague word, but I think you know what I mean. It's as a team, you should have known each other and known how you guys play off each other, and you can say, okay, based on the past month, okay, we've noticed that maybe these sprints should be maybe 2 weeks, which allows for time for this, but doesn't do that. Okay, so let's say that the sprint is 2 weeks, okay, but 2 weeks obviously has 1 week, so we can say, okay, look, this week we're going to visit the customers to clarify what features they want the most. And so you just move it here, okay? You can do more than that though. If a specific person wants to assign themselves to this task, what you can do is, of course, they have to already be part of the board. And then I'm going to click in here inside the card itself. And then I'm going to see this add button over here, which I'm going to click. And then I'm going to go to members. And notice I can assign myself. Let's say I'm going on this trip with I myself. I'm there. I'm also going to go with Aaron, for example. Okay. So now we've added each other. We've assigned ourselves to this task. So the question, who's doing what, can be answered by assigning people to a card. Okay. I'm going to pause for a second for any questions that anyone may have. A question, or I know some folks are super familiar with Trello in this call. You can also tell me if I've missed something super important as well, or something fun, right? So just in, just taking the temperature. Are there any questions? Is anyone lost so far? If all good on your side, you can thumbs up, and that'll be cool as well. So let's see. I'm just waiting for a couple. Okay, good to go for now, Aaron says. Just making sure that I want to check back with Martha to see if you eventually receive that email. If not, that's still fine. Okay. All right, just 10 more seconds for any questions to be asked. Oh, yes, Connie, you've raised your hand.
Yeah, thank you. So the email I received is something to do with, let me read it for you. It's something prompting me to go for premium.
Oh,
And when
interesting.
I try to log in, trying to read it, apart from the one you sent. So they sent me one from Atlassian.
Yeah.
Saying, Trello, welcome to Trello Premium. The free trial for the workspace, Trello workspace, ends on Tuesday, 30th June 2026. To keep premium, add a payment method. So
yeah, okay.
That's how it's supposed to come.
Well, okay, so did you receive 2 emails or 1, which was this one?
Only one, and the second one was you inviting us.
Gotcha. All right, so yes, so so the premium one, of course, is an enticement, right? Of course, because it's not necessarily a free tool. So yes, I also got a premium email, if I remember, from earlier this morning. You don't have to click on that. I think okay, so you see this 14 days left on the top right. Yeah, so you get dropped into a trial, okay, for 14 days of premium, okay? I'd imagine that's what that is. But you do not have to add a payment method. You and your team or even yourself can actually coast on the free plan without paying anything for a good majority of the project. It depends on the size of the project and how many people there are and all this kind of stuff. But frankly, you don't need to add a payment method right now at all. As long as the invite was clicked, you can kind of just use the tools that are available to you. One thing of because we're in a trial, you may use a feature that was premium or something like this, but then when the trial ends, that feature's taken away, right? So, kind of be cautious about that too. But the free plan is fine. It's fine. I don't know if that answers your question. Is there any? Yeah. So, Cody, if you're satisfied by that, well, let me know. Yeah, free is fine. Free is fine. And there are many of these services on the web where it's like you can actually use the free plan fine, right? And unless, of course, you have to then do some just a heavy thing. Let's see. Logging in has become hard. Oh, interesting. Well, okay. I know what you mean by that. Logging in has become hard. Yeah, but I do feel you though, because I mean, these businesses do have to make money, so they'll try to kind of weave a net for you in order to get you to surrender something, to surrender a coin. And that's understandable. Lights have to be kept on, but also there is a kind of it becomes a bad experience for someone to the point that they can just leave you. They can just be like, no, I'm fine with Trello. I can just use paper and pencil or something like this. I could just use WhatsApp, right? So yeah, I do feel you though. Kind of a net can be weaved for you across here to make sure that you find yourself in a place that you didn't want to find yourself in. For example, the premium thing. But if logging in has become hard, and you still remember your email and password, then you can create a new or get a new tab and go to Trello.com. Okay, I've just noticed something that's gonna, and now of course because I'm logged in, it's gonna bring me back here. But you'll be able to find a login button and then log in from there as well. Okay, with your email and password. So you can literally close whatever tab is giving you trouble right now, open a new one, go to Trello.com, and then log in from there as well, right? Yeah, but I feel that as well. I've had that for some other services. Okay, so we've seen how to assign folks to cards. Oh, you can also, projects have deadlines, tasks have deadlines. So maybe this week, myself and Aaron are going to visit the client, but we want to be done with this by, let's say Thursday at 5 p.m. So what you can do is you can go in here, and I believe you click dates over here. Let's see. Yeah. So Thursday, that's the 18th. Okay. Let me see. I can say 5 p.m. over here. Okay, this is a 24-hour clock. So 5 is 1700. Let's see. 18th, yep. And recurring never. This is a one-time thing. And you can even set yourself a reminder in case you forget. So I can set a reminder for 1 day before. Let's see. I usually set mine for a lot of time before. So let's say 2 days. Okay, 2 days before kind of makes sense because it's 2 days away. Let me just say one day before. Okay, and then I can save. And it says, so these reminders that you're setting will be sent to your email. Or if you also have Trello, the apps for your mobiles, you'll be able to get those too as notifications, just the same way that you get notifications for other apps as well. Just so you can stay in the loop of this date. So I'm going to save this. And there you go. And also, we can do a bunch of stuff here. Let me just do one more thing, which is maybe this task has subtasks. Okay. So we can utilize a checklist, for example, to say, okay, what does it mean to visit the customer and clarify what features are imported there, right? I mean, that makes sense, but like, what does it actually mean? Well, when we get there, what are we actually going to do? So the first checklist, I can say, okay, I'm going to give this a title. Visit checklist. See, visit checklist, add. Oh, I almost clicked generate checklist. I don't want to. Okay, and maybe the first item is when we get there. We'll say something like, maybe give them a questionnaire or something. Maybe, okay. Give them the short questionnaire. Oh no, I don't know how to spell this word. Questionnaire. Okay, and then maybe maybe you're going to say we're not going to leave there until we know the top 3 or something. Figure out the top 3 features to start working on, right? And perhaps one reason you may want to do this is because one of your team members may be on the development team or something. We could also be part of the development team. Walking and visiting someone doesn't really depend on what your task is. Depends on how your team's arranged. But maybe the development team was like, hey, look, when you go visit this customer, please come back with like the top 3. We can start with 3 and we see where we go from there. So we're going to add that to our checklist. And okay, maybe those are the only 2. And I'm just going to close this tab. And so now you can see that we have 0 out of 2. And when we get there and we do this, we do that, and we do that, and it's done. So now you can see 2 out of 2 checklist items have been marked. And then we can also mark this card as completed. And I think if a card is marked as completed, there's a notification that's sent out to members of the team. I can also move this card now because it's done to done. And then we go to the next item. You move it here, you do it. I should have put this in progress when we're actually going to the person. And then it's done. So yeah, so that's how kind of cards move across here, such that the questions that you have for projects, like, you know, who's working on this? Are they done? When is it due? This and this and this can be kind of indicated here in kind of an intuitive way. Well, when you're first seeing it, it may not be that intuitive, but yeah, kind of asynchronously, which is just if I'm wondering about something, I don't have to call you. I can go see here, and when I mark something as done, even if someone's not on the board now, they can come and find it later, right? So just kind of that asynchronous communication there. Yeah, I mean, that's pretty much it for Trello. I mean, obviously there's so many features like automation. You can do some stuff here with automation and things. Okay, that's a premium. This is more automations of premium. They give you some automations right here. You can do email reports. You can do all kinds of stuff here. But basically, this is the flow, right? We have something we're going to do in the backlog. We're not doing it right now, but we're going to get to it. When we get to it, okay, maybe let's do it this week or something. You have a sprint meeting just to say, hey, okay, this week, who's going to do this? Oh, me and me. Okay, assign them to the card, and then they themselves can come and say it's in progress and it's done. Basically, that's it. And if you clear your backlog, in theory, whatever you're building is done, right? So that's kind of Trello. And again, Trello is not the only one. There are many more that you can use over here. Yeah, so that's that. At least that's all that I wanted to show you today. So if there's still any questions right now would be the time to ask them. Also, Connie, I hope you've kind of figured out your logging in issue. Yeah, I'll just wait 10, 20 seconds maybe, because you may find a question you're just thinking about. So, and then we can move to the fun part, question mark. So yeah, that's kind of Trello. It is likely that if you use some other project management tool, like, well, I haven't used Jira that much. I know people who do, or some other tool. It's probably going to have the same logic in terms of, oh, here's where you can put stuff in the backlog, then here's where it's in progress, and then here's where you can mark things done, how you can assign people, you can add due dates, etc., all that kind of stuff. Notion, linear, yes, 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 yes. Yes, okay, so if you're in the chat, Arnold has, these are other project management tools that you can have. Notion is a good one. I actually used it, I don't use it anymore, just because there's no real reason there. But yeah, here's one of the ones that you can do. Super popular as well. And it looks good too. So yeah, but you can see cards moving already. I like this landing page because it shows you what you can do. It's kind of what we've been doing already. And there's obviously some other stuff. Linear, I've heard of linear. So yeah, so if you're picking which one to use, maybe, consider some things like, what do I get in the free trial, or whatever? Can I coast on the free version? How much space do I have on free, etc. Or if you want to pay, how much is that? And then you have, the world is your oyster or something like this. I forget the actual thing, but yeah, SaaS project management. It's not everything in project management, of course. There's all kinds of other stuff, but I just wanted to show you this. So yeah, thanks, Arnold, for that. All right, and also if you think of a question afterwards, you can still interrupt, and I don't mean interrupt in a bad way. I mean just like raise it, and then we'll be fine. Okay, I put space for a 3-minute break when I made these slides. Well, let's just do 1 minute. Let's just do 1 minute. Okay, unless you need, because it's already midday, so I don't want to take so long. There. So after the next 40 seconds or something, we're gonna go on to talking about web development now. Okay. And the reason we start with Trello, of course, if you're developing something, you can do so for fun. You can do so for, your own personal projects. So you can say you build, but if you have a customer, okay, then it's like a real thing. You have to, and a team. Yeah, then you'll probably use one of those project management tools as well. Okay. Let's do, what, 10 seconds? I say that as if I've actually been counting. I haven't really. I'm just estimating. Okay. Let me go into slideshow mode. All right, and so, all right, so that was Trello there. Super easy to use. Well, easy just because I've used it before. If it's your first time, that may not be true. But eventually it becomes, you learn and then it becomes intuitive eventually. Okay. The reason I have Visual Studio Code here is because that's what I'm going to use. Actually, if you were here for yesterday's session, you have encountered this before. This is an IDE, okay? It just means, okay, it just means, so for example, it's just a text editor, but it has more features, okay? So if you've used any text editor before, an IDE is an integrated development environment, which just means you can write your code in here, but you can do other stuff like extensions. Like you can do AI agents, in there. It's just one thing that you can use to do multiple stuff, okay? Which makes it different from like a regular text editor, like a Notepad or something, or Notepad++, or even Sublime. Although even Sublime has some IDE-ish things, okay? But Visual Studio Code, super popular. It's the one I will be using, but if you have your own code editor, this can become a kind of a window, an Apple versus Android thing where someone's like, oh, no, so this was the best one. No. That's so 20 years ago. This is the new one. Okay, it doesn't really matter. Frankly, it doesn't matter. Just use whatever you're happy with, okay? Use whatever your team is happy with, and you'll be fine as long as you're building stuff, okay? Okay, so yeah, basically everything I've just said is over here. Recommended. Well, yeah, I guess recommended just because it's popular and there's a lot of resources out for it, but it's the one I'll be using, okay? Visual Studio Code is not the same as Visual Studio. I made this mistake years ago. Visual Studio is the purple one. Let me see. Visual Studio is the purple one. Yeah, it's not the purple one. It's actually the blue one. So make sure you add a code whenever you're there. So this is it over here. This is where the screenshot was from. So I guess we're at the download part now. I've already downloaded this, of course, but it says download for Windows. I should have made this explicit. I'm currently on a Windows machine, okay? I do have Linux on here, but frankly, Windows was working for WebEx and all that kind of stuff. And so I'm on a Windows computer, so that's why it says download for Windows. If you are on Mac, it'll probably say download for Mac. If you're on Linux, I'm not sure if it will say download for Linux, but you can go to other platforms down here, and then you will see all the operating systems that you can download this onto. In the last session, there was an asterisk where you had to know what your system was, right? I think I'm on x64. Okay, let me just check. Let me do a check. We saw how to check in the last session. So let me just check here. I'm going to check in a different way, though. I'm going to check in a different way. Last time we went to settings, but the way that I check, frankly, is I go to this PC over here on Windows. I click, I right click, and I say properties. And a window just popped up, which you cannot see. So let me, I have to be careful not to show the IDs and everything. So just give me 1 second to grab this, and blur some things out. Okay, I'm going to save this to the desktop. Yeah, you always have to be careful when sharing screenshots in meetings because it's information that people can use. Now, of course, I don't think anyone in this meeting is that kind of person, but just for safety. So we can see here, yeah. So I want to, this is clicking that gave me a window. This is just a screenshot from that window where the system type is indeed x64. Okay. So now I know I can go to VS Code and click x64. Whether you click user installer system installer may not matter that much. Try one. If you have issues, try another one. But frankly, it probably doesn't matter that much. Okay. Yeah. So that's for Windows. I already did all this, so I'll be using Visual Studio Code. Okay. Let me just minimize Trello as well. The Trello. Minimize this as well. This was my backup plan in case I didn't get volunteers. And then let me go find my slides. Setting up VS Code. Okay, you can just download that from there, from this link. If you have the slides, you can just go there, download it. You will install it the same way you install any other program. It'll be a bit less complicated than setting up Git from before, because you won't have that many screens to swim through. Okay. We definitely don't need this break. Okay, so web development. Finally, we're here. The other thing I didn't tell you about me as well in the intro is I love to whiteboard. And so we're going to be doing a lot of that. If you're looking at the slides and thinking, where are the slides? We're gonna use a whiteboard, but also I'll update these with the content, any interesting content that we do later. So you'll still have access to this as well. Okay, so web development. Let me go back to slideshow mode. What we're going to learn is, like, what is a web app? Okay, because this is a term that we throw around, but what counts as a web app is an interesting question to explore. And then what does web development entail? Like what parts are you developing? Well, like what is the thing you're developing? And then we're gonna, if time allows, we're gonna do your first web application. Okay. There'll be a lot of setup here, so just prepare yourself. Okay, so what counts as a web app? Now, you are familiar with the internet, first of all, because you are in this call, right? So obviously, if you're doing it from a browser, then yeah, that's a web app. WebEx is a web app. I mean, we can kind of see that that's true. What about this page? Is this a web app? Not very clear. What about if you have like a portfolio on the web? Is that a web app? Okay. Zoom is a web app for sure. Et cetera, et cetera. So kind of what counts as a web app? Let's see, what counts as a web app? I will say, okay, then there are nuances for sure, but for the purposes of this session, we're gonna count a web app as something that, let me see, let me open my whiteboard here. I'm using Excalibur, which is a tool. I should call out my tools probably. I'm using Excalibur, okay, on desktop. You can also go to your browser and just type Excalibur there. Excalibur. And then Excalibur on whiteboard. And you'll be presented with a board that you can just draw in immediately. Okay? This is one of those interesting programs that a bunch of people use, okay? But you may not have heard of it, it's fine. I'm going to use this to kind of whiteboard the thing. But I'm going to use Excalibur locally on my computer via some other program, but it's the same thing. Okay, so the purposes of this web app is going to be something that you can interact with in the, I'm really trusting my typing speed to not take time, interact with in the browser, okay? But wait a second, a personal portfolio where you've put like, some images and some text that doesn't change that much, I'm not going to count that as a web app. So maybe with some interactivity in terms of like dynamic content. Dynamic here does not mean there's an animation. That's not what I mean by dynamic. I just mean the content on the page can be generated after someone does something somewhere else. So some dynamic content is going to be something maybe that we do there. Okay, so interact within the browser with some dynamic content. What about data storage? Okay, because data storage, yeah, okay. I also count that as well. Because Excalibur, for example, where I'm interacting with this on the web, I mean, certainly I'm generating this content, and there is actually some storage happening. Okay. Now I didn't sign in or anything. So like, what exactly is being stored necessarily? Well, the nice thing about the web is you can kind of peel the layer off a little bit, as opposed to like apps on the phone, where you have to have some special tools to even like know what's happening underneath. For the web, most browsers will allow you to kind of inspect something. So if I draw like maybe a box and an arrow and a circle, where the hell is all this stuff stored, right? Like, I mean, surely, okay, so let me try something. Let me close this, open it, and go to Excalibur. Oh, it's the same diagram. Interesting. So this must have been stored somewhere, but where is it? Well, you may know that you can inspect pages on the web. And now, unfortunately, if I try to click anywhere in this application, I don't get the browser menu that you are used to, right? So I have to go somewhere else, and I'm going to do that by a keyboard shortcut. I'm on Windows, so Control-Shift-I, okay? And that brings up, can I zoom in here? That brings up, okay, spoiler. That brings up kind of the plumbing of your web browser, okay? So it will probably open in like Elements here. Okay, so this is this kind of developer mode, if you will. It will open Elements here, but I'm gonna go to Application over here, and there has to be a way for Excalibur to remember the shapes that I've drawn, right? Because it didn't just guess them. This is the shapes that I drew indeed. I closed the tab, I opened it again, and indeed the shapes were there. So they have to be stored somewhere. And this morning I decided to look, and indeed there is a little bit of storage here called local storage, where if I go to Excalibur, there's a very suspicious thing here called Excalibur with a bunch of numbers. So if I click that, there is yet more suspicious things, maybe even confusing here, with like ID 012. What is all this? Well, I'm going to try and draw another shape here, maybe an arrow, and then notice what happens to these numbers here. Oh, magically there's a third one. Okay, so that gives you a hint that the way that Excalibur, for example, is storing things is in local storage, okay, as opposed to some storage in some database somewhere else on the internet. It's just happening all in the browser. So this is a valid way of storing data, okay? And so this is kind of fun. You don't need to know what this is or anything. And also, if you're wondering how I found this, I was just digging around. I was just digging around for anything called storage. I found local storage, and I drew in a shape, and I was very excited when the numbers came in. So, okay, storage is going to be something that I'm going to count that has to be there as well. Okay. Reasonable people will disagree. Okay. Reasonable people may agree, right? The nuance matters. But for the purposes of this, interact with in the browser. In other words, there's a browser open. Even this is up for debate because you can use web technologies like SSH, which we saw in the previous class, without actually having a web browser. Which, by the way, if you're wondering what a web browser is, you've used it before. It's just a user interface on top of the web that you can interact with. Okay, so a web browser is its own web application, which is interesting. Yeah, so interacting with a web browser, some interactivity, some dynamic content, and data storage. I'm going to count data storage as well. Yeah, so we're going to count that. Okay, this is a non-exhaustive list, and again, some people may disagree, but okay. Any questions so far before we go into writing? Let's see, what do we have here? Okay, what web development entails? questions so far? I'll just wait 10 seconds. Okay. If I'm moving fast, let me know. I feel it has started to happen. Okay, so just let me know. Okay, so now that we know what counts as a web app, at least minimally, of course, your app can become as complicated as you like or as the requirements, but okay, those were just some of the things that I personally count as a web app. Okay. Okay. Although if you have any other requirements, hey, I'm happy to think about those too. All right. So we know what a web app is. So what's a nice way to think about what you're developing here? Okay. I'm going to go back to the whiteboard here. Oh, actually, I'm going to go to the local whiteboard. Okay, now I'm using Excalibur again, but this time on my computer. So is it a web app now? I think not, maybe, right? Especially if you go to that browser thing. Okay, so I'm Excalibur on my local machine. I wouldn't count it as a web app, but I also understand that there are some web technologies that even an app on your phone or on your which is a mobile app, or on your computer, which is a desktop app, they can all still use web technologies as well in the back. But it's not a browser, so there's some philosophical debate to be had there. Okay, so what counts? What counts as a web app? We've done that. And then what does web development entail? Okay, so if you log into your bank or something, maybe onto Twitter or onto, I don't know, pick your favorite web application, there are actually some parts to that, generally speaking, that are in play, right? So you'll have the front end, for example, the front end here, which is the stuff that you see, right? That you can interact with as a user. Okay, so this would be like the Twitter homepage, you know, your login of the bank, logging into even Trello. That was all the front end. Okay, and then we also have, I'm going to leave some space there, a backend here. Okay, which is generally where the logic happens. Could be a PW. Okay. Yes. So Aaron in the chat, I'm assuming in the requirements as well. Okay, good question. So yeah, so Aaron says in the chat, could be a PWA, right? And what he's talking about is something interesting, which is there's some okay, progressive web app, right? Although I will say, explaining something by saying its full form isn't really doing anything. But really what this is you may have seen this maybe if you visited a website or something that asks you to install, right? And not in the same way that you would install like a normal program, like VS Code that we just, we went in here, we clicked the install button, the thing came to our computer, and we had to, well, we didn't do it, but you have to click and then do some prompts and then wait for Windows to. This is a different kind of installation, okay? And a progressive web app, it's well, first of all, it's a web app, but you can have it on your phone as if it is an app. Let me see if I can find, let me go to something that I use. Let's see, maybe like what, Promo Focus? Let's see if this works out. Promo Focus. Okay, inadvertently also. So you see this here install that just popped up here? It will pop up in a different place depending on your browser maybe, but I'm using Brave. And so I see this install button. Now hold on a second. This is a web application. So what does this install do? If I try to click it, let me see, install app, and I try to install that. Oh, well, that was fast, wasn't it? right? No, so this clearly isn't like a normal installation per se. But look at this. I have an icon down here in the taskbar, and can I even pin it? I can even pin it. Let's see, did I pin it? Okay, I can pin it. I can close Homo Focus, but it's right there as if it was an app. But really, it's still it's still a web page disguised as an app. Okay, just to give it that more kind of native-ish feel. Okay, so this is 100% a way that you can package your applications, right? Especially if you want to avoid like the App Store and all those fees and waiting 1 year to do the package it as a progressive web app. You got the same for Excalibur? Okay, okay. In the chat, Aaron says he got the same installation for Excalibur. Yeah, yeah. So in here, this is a progressive web app. It's a web app that behaves as if it's an app that's local to your machine. This also works on phones as well, on smartphones. Okay. So let me get back to to here. That was a good tangent actually. So yeah, progressive web app install, but from the web. Okay. So the front end, we're talking about parts of kind of what does it entail? Front end is the stuff that you see. Generally speaking, okay, front end is stuff that you see. The back end is where the data is stored. The back end here also involves like your database, okay? The thing with these diagrams that you see in like books and stuff is they try to segregate these things, but actually there's a lot of overlap between these boxes that I'm drawing. But for the purposes of, trying to explain it as if they're separate parts, sometimes they may not be necessarily. I'm drawing boxes here, but know that sometimes knowing what the backend counts as is kind of difficult, right? But the database is a database, okay? At least that one exists on its own. So you have a database, you have a backend, but why are these two things separate? Okay, we'll get to that. And then, now notice Excalibur did not have a backend. It had some storage. It had a database, but the database was in the browser. Okay, so it still had this. Okay, and I promise you, it has a backend because it needs to. There needs to be a way for it to know what a shape looks like. Like that stuff isn't just drawn, right? There's some logic that's handling that. So we can say that there's a backend somehow that's communicating with the database that stores the shapes, for example. And I'm just drawing things on the front end. Okay. So yeah, trying to find a line between, sometimes it's easy to know what the front end, okay, the front end is easy to know. It's what you're looking at. Right now, this is the front end. Back end and the database is where information is usually stored. And the back end is kind of communicates with the database as well, because there's code that does that. I'm getting a notification here. Okay, this is fine. But wait a second. These things have to talk to each other somehow. Like when I draw a shape on, I'm using Excalibur as the example just because we've seen it. But okay, let me go to Trello, for example. Go back to Trello. I hope it's still open. I minimize it. Yeah. So when I move a card from here to here, I just did something on the front end, certainly. But like there needs to be some community because we know data is being stored. Okay. Is it being stored in local storage like Excalibur? That's an investigation that you can go and do by yourself. But there has to be a way for the front end to say what has happened and tell it to the back end somehow. Okay, and the back end has to have a way to say, okay, I understand this is what has happened. Please continue. Okay, and that communication between those two is where you have the APIs. So front end, back end. I'm going to draw a larger box around these two. Okay, just to, I'm going to take these two as the back end. Okay, but just know that there's some logic here that talks to the database. The database talks back, and information is shuttled from the front end to the back end via these things called APIs. Okay, let's see, APIs. Which is actually one of the things that we're going to learn about today. So let's take a little detour here on what APIs are. And again, sometimes it's easy to know what the API is. Sometimes the API is actually hidden somewhere in the backend code, and it's not super easy to discern which part is the backend and the APIs because they're all kind of mingled in there. Okay, but generally speaking, let's see, APIs. Does that stand for application something programming interface, something like that? First, I'll tell you the full form, which has nothing to do with the actual explanation. Let's see, programming interface. Okay, which is a bunch of words. I hope this is it. Let's see. I'm sure someone in the chat will correct me if I've got one of these words incorrect. But generally, okay, all right, I'm getting a thumbs up. This is just a way of communicating. What do I mean by that? Well, there is, think about it like you're talking to someone, and if you don't speak their language, like if I try to speak Chinese, first of all, I'll be laughed at, but also the person I'm speaking to won't have any idea what I'm saying because I don't know Chinese. I can't speak that language. We can't exchange information like that because there's some kind of interface there. There's some rules of the language in this case that I cannot speak. Okay, so there is no interaction that's going to happen between us. Okay, so an API is kind of a way to have that language of exchange. Okay, and it doesn't just happen in the web. Okay, you will see the word API being used in other contexts as well. Hardware has API. There's an API between my computer processor and RAM. There's a communication, the rules for accepting and exchanging data that happen between there as well in hardware, right? So APIs are just these rules that are written to say, okay, this is how you talk to each other. When you want to talk to this person, you have to say who you are, maybe like your ID or something. You have to, think about it like if you're going to maybe your school or something, and at the entrance, there's an API there that's happening where you have to sign your name in a book, maybe show your ID, and then you're let in. Something like that, okay? That's what an API is, just a way of exchanging. There are APIs that exist already. In the browser, there's an API that exists. How do you install an extension? There's an API there. How do you do X and Y? There's an API there. But you can also write your own APIs for your own applications, okay? So front end, there's an entire field of people who just do front end, okay? There's an entire field of people who call themselves back-end engineers, and there's a whole field of people who call themselves database engineers, right? So you can have literally teams on either of these, okay? And the way they have to agree on what the API is going to be for information to be shuttled between them, okay? And of course, if you know a little bit of front end, some back end and some database stuff, traditionally you'd be called a full stack. Okay, we'll see what the hell stack means here. Full stack. Okay, that's the quote unquote full stack because apparently you can move between these three. And yeah, that's kind of what I do. I label myself as a full stack software engineer. Okay, but that's what that means. But of course, there's some other details in here that we haven't covered. Okay. Any questions on this? Because that was a lot of information in a short time. So if you have any questions, doesn't matter how basic they may sound, I guarantee you someone else is thinking the same thing. So just ask there as well. It's like raise your hand. You will see this diagram or maybe this idea in some other shape or form, but we have components, parts that need to communicate with each other. That's all. Storage usually happens on some kind of database. Okay. Oh, and this is what I mean. See, this diagram may make it seem like the front end and the database are like on different parts of the world, but we saw with Excalibur, it's all in the browser, right? So these boxes can sometimes be misleading in terms of how they try to separate things out, which are actually happening in the same environment, okay? But just as a communication tool, front end, back end, database. The back end has logic to communicate with the database. Database speaks back to the back end, and information is shuttled back to the front end, and on you go. Usually how that works. Okay. still, if there are any questions, do ask. I'll just wait 10 seconds for that. And then we can actually go and write some code, I think. Yeah. Okay, just waiting 10 seconds and then going once, going twice. You can type in the chat or raise your hand. Okay, cool. So I think we're at the point now where, oh, I didn't even talk about AI. It's fine, we'll use it. There's actually, so let's see. Right here. Let me just close what I'm not using. Okay, we already did the whiteboard. What does web development entail? Front-end development. Oh, I also missed some things here, like the design part, right? Before you start to write any code, it's important that you speak to your customers, okay? Make sure that the problem you're trying to solve is actually something that someone wants, okay? But again, you can program for fun. In that case, you're solving maybe a intellectual puzzle for yourself, or maybe you have a problem that you encounter and you're like, wait, I can just write some stuff to solve this, right? You can start there too, but step one, talk to your customers, okay? Make sure that they want what you're actually going to give them, and then figure out what they are going to see. In other words, what the interface looks like. And then, go back and forth with your team. There's probably going to be a meeting or two, something in the Trello, right? And then the teams are going to assign themselves tasks and work on them, okay? Yeah, so yeah, I actually forgot the front-end design part. Okay, so front-end is both design and also the actual, like, writing the code, right? There are tools nowadays that can get you a large part of the way there in terms of front end. Let's see, I think V0 is one of them. I'm personally someone that likes to sketch and things first, but there's some tools that you may want to know about. V0 is one of those tools that you can, and of course they're AI tools, so you could probably describe something that you want here. Of course you have your regular LLMs that you can chat with. You even have agents that can help you along. Lovable is another one. That's right. Lovable is another one. There's another one in the chat there. Henry has suggested, yeah. So there are actually like these app builders and things that you can use to get your way there. There is a philosophical argument that you can have with yourself and settle with yourself, especially if you're learning these things. Is using AI actually good? I think it is. It depends on how you use it, but that is kind of neither here nor there. It depends on how you feel about the things, right? But yeah, just know they're tools, and I'm actually gonna maybe demonstrate one of them in VS Code as well. Okay. All right. So speaking of which, let's go and write our first web application with like 20 minutes left. All right. Oh, I haven't talked about frameworks. Okay, we'll talk about those. It's fine in here. So first web application, live demo. So I actually have a repository that I created this morning. Let's see here. Let me go into here. It's a template that I created that uses some frameworks. So we're going to see what those are. And let me see if I go to, excuse me, I have very many browser profiles and things. I just like to GitHub, repositories. Okay. AZK Internship Web Sample Code Day 2. This was 2 hours ago. Okay, so I had this idea. Maybe I should start from somewhere as opposed to from scratch. And so if I go in here, if you were in the first session yesterday, you've looked at GitHub already. You know how to clone things already. But what I'm going to do is sample code for the, okay, yeah. So this is, okay, I should probably post this somewhere, shouldn't I? Let me go in here. Go in here and post that in there. You can clone this. You can even fork that, as in fork and spoon. You haven't looked at forking yet. So, okay, that's something to look forward to in next week. You can actually fork a repository. Forking a repo, okay. cloning a repository is exactly what we saw last time, where you can grab a link and you can say git clone. Okay, let me do this right now. I'm going to open a terminal, which you also encountered last time. Oh, mine's a little bit different though. Last time you used, I think we used git bash, right? So let me just be consistent there and also use git bash rather than going into like other things. Actually, let me put this away. So what I'm going to do is this is a starter template, okay? This is a starter template, which is using some frameworks, okay? One of the frameworks that it's using, let me just move this here. One of the frameworks that we're using, okay. React. Now, I know React is a bit heavy for someone's first application. That is true. I accept that. But okay, so let's see. React, we'll see what these mean. I'm also using, let's see, FastAPI. Okay, also using that. We actually won't, okay, we may use this for the API part. Okay, and yeah, actually, as far as frameworks go, Frontend is using React. The backend code here is I'm doing it with FastAPI. It doesn't. Don't worry if this is the first time you've heard of these things. They're just tools that you can use to create web applications. Okay, so React. If you recall from if you did any basic, not basic. Let me call it fundamental. So if you did some fundamental web development, or took a class or something, you understand that you may have heard that the browser only understands HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, right? Let's see here. And JavaScript. And that you may have heard that, okay, HTML styles. Never mind, that HTML is the one that kind of is like, there's usually an analogy that is with a house or something, where HTML is like the framework of the house, right? Before everything is set there. So HTML, very OG. Whether it's a language is debatable. Okay, there are entire places on Twitter that that spend their time deciding if HTML is a language. I don't know, that's up to you, but HTML is one of those things that you can use to develop for the web, okay? And that is to say, oh, this is a table. You declare things. This is a table. This is a navigation bar. This is a paragraph, right? HTML does that. And then CSS, for some reason, I thought CSS would have its own page. That's not very, yeah. CSS is the one that styles things, right? This button is actually blue. Actually, it's green. Actually, if this happens, then if it's on mobile, I would like that this thing shows up differently, right? So for example, if I go to Trello here, not there. If I go back to our Trello page, let's see, where was that? Here. I'm on desktop, but like if I try to get like if I try to shrink this page, right? I mean, this is definitely a different view, right? Somewhat close to what you would see on mobile. There are better ways to do this, by the way, but the layout has changed, right? I mean, obviously, because you have less space, some things have gone and rearranged themselves at the bottom. Some things have disappeared. You can use CSS for layout stuff as well. Like, if I'm on mobile, hey, hide this thing. If I'm on desktop, this should be a grid. If I'm on this and this screen, that should be, okay. So you can use that and also for styling and some bit of logic as well, okay? You can use CSS. JavaScript is the one that has all the logic, the kind of the programming part, I suppose, if you'll allow me to say that, where it's like, oh, actually, you know what? If someone is assigned a task, shoot them an email, right? That's seems like a JavaScript thing to do. If this is put in done, let me see, will it do it? Oh, it won't. I thought there was going to be like confetti or something, but there's some logic on the web that you use JavaScript for. Okay, that's also a part. So you may have heard the web, the browser understands HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, and they all work together to create web pages and web applications and things. So if that's the case, then what the heck is a framework? Like, can't I just, for example, if I wanted to build Trello from scratch, bless your soul, first of all, you can probably do it with HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. Actually, you can do it. I'm sure there's a video on the internet of someone going, I rebuilt Trello with HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. Okay, that's fine. But as your application grows and the logic starts to be a bit difficult to achieve with these building blocks, there are smart people who have been around on the web and have developed entire tools to help you kind of get accessibility to these kinds of ways of doing things that in such a way that it's packaged together. Okay, so React, for example, I go to React over here. I want to make sure we write some code as well. React is a library for web and native user interfaces. Okay. Native says you can also use React for mobile applications. Okay, React Native, that is. But yeah, so someone smart, specifically folks from Meta, I think this is a Meta original kind of product, said, okay, we have been on the web and we have understood that people who build stuff for the web have this issue. They complain about this. They complain about this. So let's package something called React, which if you can install it on your side, you can develop web applications and have some stuff taken care for you. Okay, that doesn't mean it's easy or it's easier somehow to develop on these frameworks, but there's some functionality that they provide that you don't have to think about too much when you're developing. So you can focus on like building the thing rather than going down into the plumbing. Okay, so React is one for the front end. Okay, so you could like build Trello with React or something with React. So yeah, but you could also do it with JavaScript, CSS, and HTML. That's also fine. Okay, so there's React for the front end, and then FastAPI is a way to make APIs. It's in the name. It's Python. I think it's Python specific, if I'm not mistaken. There you go. Yep. FastAPI, a modern fast web framework for building APIs. Okay, so we know what APIs are. It's that language, that agreed upon way to exchange information with Python. Okay, this is a programming language that you may have heard of. Okay, based on standard Python type-ins. Okay, so that's FastAPI is there. And so if I go back to the other diagram here, we're running out of time a little bit. So, people are asked, hey, what's your stack? If you ever talk about some application, someone will say, oh, sorry, what stack are you using? What stack are you using? Okay, what stack? What is this? What's the stack you're using? What they really mean is, hey, what technologies are you using for the front end, the back end, the database, and what other stuff are you using? So if I'm using React to develop the front end, I can say, oh, my stack. Oh well, I'm using React on the front end. I'm using FastAPI for the APIs. I'm using Python on the back end here as well. And for the database, I'm using MySQL or I'm using Postgres, right? So that will be your stack, right? It's just some lingo that people use to just mean what technologies are you using on your project or something like that. Okay, if you're going for interviews or if you're doing that, you may be asked this. Yeah, explain to us the stack. Yeah, that's just what they mean. Okay, it's nothing that complicated. Okay, so let's actually write some code. So I'm gonna open. It's 1 p.m. right now. I'm gonna stick around maybe for 20 more minutes. I think we started at kind of 11, 20-ish, 15. So, okay, we're kind of still on track. So what's going to happen? I'm going to open, okay, I was on GitHub. Second go. This is the problem with having many. Okay, yeah, I was here. So I created a repository, which is from a template. Okay. I created this template maybe a year or a year and a half ago. Okay. And what is it? Oh, it's just a template to say, hey, if you're developing and you want to use React on the front end, FastAPI for writing the APIs, here's a template. Frankly, this is a personal template of mine because there's so much setup that happens to make these things work. You know, this command and this command and that command and that command and that command. And we'll maybe see that as well in the next session. We'll do this from scratch. Okay. But for now, I'm gonna clone this. I'm gonna clone this as it is. Okay. I will call out, I already have Python installed on my computer. Okay, so you need Python installed for this template to work. I already have Node.js installed on my computer. Okay, I already have, let's see, what else do I have? Yeah, Python. No, actually, yeah. I already have these two things. Okay, so these are kind of prerequisites. Okay. There are many languages that you can use for web development. I just happen to be using Python. Okay. There are so many languages out there that you could have substituted in for Python. There are so many front-end frameworks that you could have substituted in for React. Okay. I just happen to be using React icons. That's not what I meant. I just happen to be using React. So if you go to like YouTube and you type, hey, how do I build a web application? And someone says, oh, we're going to build this with Svelte. We're going to build this with Angular. Those are just other frameworks that other people have built to solve different problems. Okay. And yes, just like Apple and Android, there are people on both sides that swear this is the best thing on planet Earth. It's fine. It doesn't really matter as long as you can build stuff. Okay. Just pick one, learn that. Okay. I just happen to be using these things. I'm not saying it's the way to build web applications. I just happen to be using these. So prerequisites: Python, Node.js. Yeah, those are the two big ones. I'm probably gonna. So if you're gonna use this template later, I'll update the slides for these prerequisites, and also this and how to install them. Yeah, these are things you already need. Okay. Now we're going to assume that I already have them because I already do. Okay. We should probably, I think maybe next time we'll go through this from scratch, how to install Node from scratch, just because of time. Node from scratch, how to install Python from scratch, how to install properly Python from scratch. Yeah, I think we'll go through these kind of from scratch in the next one as well. But right now, I'm kind of assuming that, well, I have them, but you'll have to have them to follow along, especially if you're watching this video in the future. Okay. So I have clicked this. I'm going to clone this repository. It's public. And so I think I posted this in the chat already. I have. I'm going to clone this. And I'm going to go to git bash here. Let me see. I'm going to go to git bash here. Part of developing is just getting comfortable with your file system, just knowing where things are, like where are your files, you know? And so, for example, let me do clear. I am used to Linux, so if I type something in here that doesn't work, I'll have to look up what the Windows equivalent is. But I think Git Bash is Linux-like enough for things to work just fine. I think next time we'll also talk about, you know, how to install Linux for, you know, and all that kind of stuff. Okay. So I've copied the URL for the repository. Notice that I myself have used SSH to clone that stuff because I have already set up SSH keys like we saw in the past. session. Okay, I just want to know where I am though. I'm not quite sure, so I'm going to do pwd, which is a command. Also, some people call these scripts as well. This is a command. It's a script that just tells your computer to tell you where you are right now. Okay, which directory are you? Okay, so I'm in my home directory. Okay, C users, Athena. I could have gotten there by going here. Let me see. Excuse me. I could have gotten to this by going to C users, Athena. I'm literally in the same place that I am in the terminal, both in terms of the user interface and also from the terminal. We are literally in the same place, okay, in here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a, actually, I'm going to go to the desktop, okay? So what I can do is I can cd, I can change directory. Directory is the same as folder, it's fine, to the desktop. Oh, also, I should mention what just happened there. Let me just go back one step. cd ... It goes back to where we were, okay, as you can see. And then let me cd. So in the terminal, you can get auto-completion for yourself. So if I hit tab right now, I'm going to be given the options that start with DES, okay? And the only one that does that is desktop, okay? So I just hit tab and desktop was given to me. I'm going to hit enter. Great. And now let me just make sure that I have my Git stuff set up on here. I'm going to say Git. Remember when Mr. Edison in the last session said we'd be repeating some of these things? Yeah, that's why he said that, because this stuff is the same. So Git, let me see, Git config. Let me just say global -- list. Okay, and here I'm just saying, okay, there's some global settings that I made when I first installed Git or in Git Bash on this computer. I just want to make sure they still exist, okay? And the thing I'm looking for is mostly just username and email. Okay, don't worry about all this stuff. Let's see. I can in fact see my email right here. I'm comfortable showing that because it's on my LinkedIn, so and nothing there. And then my username from GitHub, which is JustFam. Okay, so don't worry about any of this other stuff. I want to clear terminal, and I'm going to say git clone, and I'm going to paste. Let's see. Okay. Okay. So unfortunately, I forgot. I erased the copy, so I'm going to copy that again. I also understand that last time you were taught how to like make this more elegant. I haven't done that yet. So, okay, so I'm doing this the old school way. Git clone and then the URL of the repository. I'm gonna hit enter. And we can see that something's happening here. Cloning into here. We're done. Okay. I'm now going to open this in Visual Studio Code, which remember was the IDE, just the development environment, which I'm using right now. There is a command you can use if you've installed VS Code in your system. You can just say code, and then I'm going to put a dot right there. What this dot says is, well, first of all, I'm going to open Visual Studio Code. Code is a shorthand that was already pre-made when I installed Visual Studio Code. Okay, so code means open Visual Studio. Okay, actually, if I just do code without anything there, let's see what happens. Yeah, let me see what happens. I'm going to hit enter. Oh, something is opened here. Okay. The reason to open here is because I was already there. Let me just close this. Can I do that? Do code. Okay, this probably won't work because it's opening. Oh, wait a second. Okay. Yeah, I set this up before, so it's just opening where I was before. Okay, but the point I'm trying to make here is code opens Visual Studio Code. If I do a dot there, that says don't just open Visual Studio Code, do it in the location that I am. Now, right now, if I do code, it's going to open Visual Studio Code on my desktop or in the desktop location that I'm in, okay? And if I actually hit enter, this is not what I meant to do, but as you can see on my desktop, I have the actual repository and then a bunch of other stuff on here on my desktop and then some screenshot here. That's not what I meant to do. What I meant to do was in the desktop, I have the repository we've just created. So let me do ls. ls says list the files and folders in my current location right now. What's our current location? Then the desktop. So it's going to list for me everything that's inside of the desktop folder. Okay, and we see that the repository that we created is over here. Okay, this other, oh, well, no, it's actually over here, is over here. Okay, AZK Internship 2026 web sample code day 2, which matches the name of the repository. Okay, are there any questions right now at this point? Because if there are, feel free to interrupt me. Okay, I'll move on though, just for time. I'm going to cd. Notice there are some commands that show up a lot of the time. cd, ls, you're going to be using that all the time, okay? And if you're unfamiliar, these will you'll pick them up as you type them a lot, okay? They'll start to sink in. So don't worry if it's not sinking in right now. Everyone had this journey, okay? So cd into azk, and just as I mentioned earlier, I don't need to keep typing because I can see that the only thing that starts with azk is this folder. So I can hit tab once, and it's going to autocomplete for me. I'm going to hit enter. Now I'm inside the repository in a branch called main. More on that much later, probably in the next sessions. And now I want to open Visual Studio Code inside here. I'm going to go code dot. Dot says in the current location. I'm going to hit enter. And indeed, I have opened Visual Studio Code. I'm going to go light mode just because, okay, let me try something. Everything's kind of dark at the moment. Let me just make it, flashbang warning. I don't know if this is better or worse. I know some people in this call who may actually find where I live because I did this, okay? But just for clarity, I think this is better. I'm going to zoom in. Okay, so I have my recent project that I've opened here. Okay, but on the left-hand side is where the folders are. Okay, this is where the folders are listed. And now here I have a front-end folder and a back-end folder. We're not going to touch the back-end, I don't think, today. And when you open the front end, there are a lot of files here. Okay, this is one of those things, by the way, which is the difference between one of the differences between using a framework and using just vanilla. It's called vanilla HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. When you hear the word vanilla HTML, CSS, JavaScript, what they mean is I used HTML, CSS, and JavaScript by itself, away from a framework. So one of the advantages of going vanilla is you may not have a lot of files in there to begin with, okay? Now here, there's a bunch of files over here. We'll definitely not go into each and every single one of them right now. We'll cross this bridge when we get there, but all you have to know is there is a front-end folder, which unsurprisingly is about the logic in the front end. And then there's a back-end folder, which is unsurprisingly about the logic in the backend. Okay. And this is, let me call something out here. Okay, let me see. I'm targeting 125-ish. I can stay for longer, but like if you feel like, you're getting a bit tired, it's okay, you could take a break, but I'm just going to continue. So I'm going to call something out because if this is new to you, it may kind of be confusing. I mean, many things can be confusing, but this is where like symbols and shapes that we use kind of let us down sometimes, because when I drew this, image, I spoke as if the front end and the back end And the database thing was like different parts of a system, right? Some kind of system. But here I'm opening the backend and the front end as if they're folders. Like, what does that mean? Well, in here there is code. Code for the backend. I'm not going to open these. And code for the front end, which when you deploy, is another jargon term. When you deploy these, deploy just means take the project from your computer and put it on the internet for people to access, okay? That's what deployment means. When you deploy this, then all the code that you wrote to handle the front end will run the front end on the browser, because we're doing web here. All the code that is here that defines how the backend should communicate with the database and all those APIs as well, all that stuff will be running in the backend, right? So in this diagram, front end and backend and databases were just kind of generally speaking of like components that you will find in a web application. Front end, backend, and database have code that is associated with them, which are just files and folders. Okay, that's there may be a disconnect between the image and the thing, and I just want to call that out over here. Okay, now how do you actually run this thing? Because I've said this is a template, and again, we'll see how to get here from scratch probably in the next session. But I'm going to go to git bash here. And then let me clear the screen because there's a lot in there right now. And I'm actually going to open 2 git bashes, okay? I will see why in a second. I'm going to open, so I have git bash open already. I think I can open git bash again. Okay, I can. And I'm going to go to the same location in the other git bash I just opened. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to help myself out here. I'm going to copy this text. And in the other git bash that I have opened, I'm going to zoom in. And I'm going to say cd, which is go to this directory, right? cd, I'm going to paste that there. Let's see, is that going to work? Maybe not, actually. Yeah, it won't. So I have to say cd. No, okay, so the reason this didn't work is where I am at the moment. Let me just Control C, let me get out of here. Where I am at the moment, if I do ls, which lists the files, there's no such thing as desktop. Okay, so my previous command, which I can hit with the arrow key on my computer, if you hit the up arrow, it will go through the history of commands that you've typed. The reason that didn't work is because I was trying to tell it, actually, I was telling it something totally different as well. But let's say it was like this. I was trying to say, hey, from where you are, go to the desktop. But there's no desktop here. So it's like, I don't know what you're talking about. So what I have to do is I have to put this here, tilde, which is home, right? C, users, Athena, I think it was what it was. That's what this tilde means. And then from there, then go to the desktop and the AZK internship. So I think this is going to work. Okay, so I've opened 2 VS Codes. Sorry, 2 Git bashes for a reason. Okay, the reason is the front end logic is going to run in its own server. Server is another word we have to kind of talk about. And the backend logic is also going to run in its own server. Okay, so these 2 things, the code in the front end and the code in the back end, are going to run on different servers, which both have to be running for anything to work. Okay, so let's see here. So I'm now here. Okay, remember we're in the same location in these 2 Git bashes. We are also in the same location when we look at the files in our code. Okay, we're all in the same place. It's just different interfaces that we're looking at. Okay, and so let me pick up one of the Git bashes here. I'm going to cd, which is change directory, into the front end for now. Okay, and the reason I'm doing that is because the way the code is arranged, it's arranged in such a way that all the packages, all the files, and all these so-called dependencies for the front end are listed in one of these files over here. Okay, and in order for me to trigger the server to run, I have to do it from here. Okay, that's all you need to know for now. That's all you need to know for now. So we'll get into more detail as the weeks pass by, so you have something to look forward to. It is 1:20, but I'm still going to continue. Okay, I'm going to say PNPM. We're going to encounter a lot of things that each could be their own session. Okay, we've encountered so many things so far that could have been their own session. So let me just run this, make sure it's running before I explain what's happening here. So I'm going to say PNPM. Actually, you know what? Let me check that I have PNPM in my computer, because I could try to run it and it's going to say, oh, this is not a command that I recognize in the computer. So to check, I'm going to, just like last time when you were checking if you had Git in your computer, you did a space after the word Git. This is a different program though, but the conventions are kind of similar. I'm still going to do -- version. I'm going to hit enter. Let's see what happens here. Okay, I didn't get back an error. In fact, I got back a number, which means I have PNPM installed. Okay, we'll get to what PNPM is, but for now, let me just run this. Let me just install all the dependencies. It's another jargon term. By the way, I'm suspicious that there are going to be questions right about now. So if that's the case, raise your hand, put it in the chat. Dependencies. We have to swim through the vocabulary of things just so we're more comfortable. If you are less comfortable by words like full stack, API, front-end, back-end, database, it's fine. Don't worry about it. You can always look this stuff up later. Hell, you have a recording, but you can also do research later as well. And the more that you encounter these words, the more comfortable you will be using them. Okay, so dependencies. What are those? I'm going to go to a comic. Let's see. KCD dependencies. If you've seen this, you probably know what I'm looking for. Let's see. Is it this? Oh, yeah, it was that. It was that. Okay. There is a very popular image that you may encounter, okay, which is this. Now, all the software that you've used, that you use on your computer, on your phone, on the web, were not only made by teams, but a certain part of the software in that program that you're using talks to another part of the software. In fact, it depends on something else existing before it itself can work, right? It's kind of in the same way that before you type something on your computer, the dependency there is your computer has to be on, right? In other words, you cannot start typing on your computer before the computer is on. So in that way, a dependency is something that has to exist for something else to work, okay? The modern internet has a lot of stuff on it, and they all depend on each other, okay? For your router to work, it depends on router software being there. For that router software, a part of that router software to work depended on some other software that someone else made that the router software is using to work. That thing that someone else made depends on something else. So it's a long chain of people that made things that depend on each other to make the software work. Okay, so this what this webcomic is, it's kind of a small joke, but it's also very accurate, which is you have, all your digital infrastructure, which is represented by these blocks. So things built on top of things, built on top of things, built on top of things. And over here, everything literally depends on this one project that someone made. Okay, so the next block uses it. The next block uses this block, which uses it, and all that kind of stuff. And so when you're creating, also there's a security thing, but okay, I'll leave that to the security session. So when you're using a framework, okay, a framework is a very large piece of software. That very large piece of software is composed of smaller pieces of software, which were made probably by different teams. But for one team's software to work, it depends on some other team's software to work. And so what this is, dependencies are just pieces of software or code that need to exist for other pieces of software to work, right? And you can keep going down and down and down. Someone depends on someone, that person depends on someone, that person depends on someone, etc., etc. Okay. So what am I doing here? What am I trying to do? When I say PNPM install, I'm saying, hey, there's a project here that uses a framework. Okay. And there's a file in here. This was made beforehand, but we'll see how to get to this file from scratch later in other sessions. There is a file here, and this file, if I open it, it has dependencies. Okay, so this project depends on Tailwind existing. This project depends on TanStack existing. This project depends on Motion existing. It depends on this. There are there's so many dependencies that have been listed here that have to be installed. Okay, and so when I say PNPM install, I'm saying install all these dependencies, figure out, I've hit enter, by the way, so the installation process is happening. Figure out who needs what before whom and all that, okay? Figure it out, but just make sure that everything is installed. The thing that is doing that figuring out is called a package manager, okay? So these dependencies are dependencies of packages, which just means software that's been packaged up, okay? And someone or some other piece of software, it's all software. Some other piece of software has to do the hard work of figuring out, okay, if I'm installing this dependency, I need this person to exist first. Before I install them, I need this person to exist first. Only after installing this can I go down here and down here and down. The thing that's figuring that all out is a package manager. Let's see, package manager, generally speaking. And the package manager that I happen to be using is PNPM, okay? On the internet, you will see NPM being used. Most tutorials will use NPM. I could have used NPM, but there are some disadvantages to using NPM. The biggest disadvantage is one of space. Frankly, I have so many projects on this computer, and the way NPM does dependency installations happens in such a way that there's just more disk space used all the time. Every time you start a new project, that's more disk space, And so for that reason alone, I used PNPM instead, okay? PNPM, fast disk, fast, let's see, saves time, saves disk space, super chat, yeah, okay. We don't need to know what this is right now. But yeah, this is PNPM is a package manager whose job is to figure out how to install dependencies, okay? Which are pieces of software that other people made that depend on other pieces of software existing. And the package manager sorts it out, okay? How does it know what to depend? How does it know what to install? There is a file that lists all of these things. How is this file generated? We'll look at that in the next session, okay? When we're doing this whole thing from scratch, okay? But what I'm trying to say is everything comes from somewhere else, okay? And you can trace the path that things took, and nothing is necessarily magic. It may look complicated, and it is, right? But the more familiar that you are with these ideas, the more sense they start to make. And then making sense can take a couple of months if you're some other people. It can take a couple of years if you're some other people. It's all okay. It's fine, okay? Just know I'm using PNPM to install the front-end packages. If I go back to the terminal, let's see. Oh, excuse me, this is zoomed in. Let me see. Okay, this is not showing properly because it was zoomed in. But so yeah, we can see, look, it installed all these things. Those things themselves can be sessions of their own, okay? So there's a lot to learn here, but it has installed all the requirements that we need to run the front end, okay? And so let me now run the front end on its own server. That's another word that is you have to get into. Let me just clear the screen for now. Are there any questions right now? Any? Surely there's at least one question. Okay, I'll just let this a second. PNPM PNPM dev. So I use PNPM install to install the dependencies. I'm using PNPM dev to say, okay, now that everything is installed, hey, let's start up the front end server. I'm gonna hit enter. And if everything is going well, I should see. Let's see. Okay, this will take them. Okay. Don't worry about deprecation warnings and all that stuff. Vite is another component of this. All you have to know right now is it's what's allowing us to kind of run this right now. Okay, that's all you need to know. And we've been given a kind of a URL. Okay, and so if I go to this URL right now, okay, I know what's there. If I go to this URL right now, and you can open this in any browser. Let me open it in AKZ. Let me open. Okay, fine. Any browser. Let me not. And go in here. Whoops. I actually think I did something. Let me just copy that again. Excuse me. Copy. Copying and pasting is one of those other things that sounds easy, but actually there's. Okay, so there's some page over here. That's fine. This is a template, so this is all that it is in the template. We'll come back to this. Actually, we're gonna prompt an AI to turn this into something else. Okay, but I've run the front end. The front end is now running on its own server. Okay, let me do the same for the back end. Okay, the reason I can interact with the front end right now is currently there's nothing that is being communicated. Remember this diagram? Currently, there's nothing being communicated to the backend that requires the backend to be up. Okay, but I'm going to put the run the backend itself as well on another git bash terminal. So now you see why I needed two of them, because if I run the front end server, oh, look at this, I can't really run any commands anymore because the front end process is taking up this this entire git bash. Okay, so I need another one so I can just run the backend without interfering with the front end. Okay. Okay, so there's a lot of stuff happening on the screen. If you have any questions, let me know. In here, we're back to the repository, but this time I want to go to the backend folder. This folder over here. Let me just collapse things. Let me close this. I want to go to the backend folder. Okay, this is the FastAPI/Python part. Okay, now I have to have Python installed. Okay, we'll go over the installation. I'll either make a video. Actually, you know what? Probably this is a good thing. I'll make a video that will be shared in the group somehow of how to install these things from scratch, Python and Node. Okay, or you can also go look on the internet for those kinds of things. I will add the links in the slides as well for those videos when they exist. Okay, so I'm going to, I was on the second git bash over here. I'm going to cd, which is change directory or change the folder to the backend folder. And indeed, here I am. Let's see, Control C. Whoops. Okay, so I'm here in the backend. How do I know? I can see the word backend. Okay. I can see the word backend right there, so I know I'm in the right place. Now, in the front end, I used PNPM to install front-end dependencies. And the backend does not use PNPM, okay? At least mine doesn't. Remember, because I just happen to be using Python. And so I'm using Python. I'm going to use Python's package manager, right? In the same way that I used the node's package manager, okay, to install dependencies. I'm also going to do the same over here. Okay, now in the same way that the front end dependencies, aka what to install in what order, okay, the package manager takes care of that. That stuff was listed in package.json over here. Okay, you can see dependencies. The same is true for the backend. Okay, depending on which language you're using, that stuff, what to install on the backend, is also listed somewhere else. So if I open the backend over here, I can go to requirements.txt. Okay, and oh, look, I have a list of packages that I need to install. Do I need to do this myself? No, by which I mean I don't have to install this and be done, and then go to this and be done, and then go to this and be done. I can let the package manager do that for me, okay? Okay, so I'm in the backend. Do I have Python installed? That's a nice thing to check. So I'm going to type Python. And just as we did for PNPM to check which version we had, just as we did for Git in the past session to check the version that we had, I'm going to do -- version. And indeed, I have Python 3.10 running on my system. Okay, this is not the latest Python, but that's okay. For this project, it's fine. You don't have to be on the latest version of Python. Okay, this will probably work if you have a different version of Python 3 on your system. It's fine. So I have Python installed. It's fine. Now there's one thing that you have to do that people usually do for good reasons when you're running anything Python related, okay? Which is, and this could be, again, there are many things that could be sessions of their own, but I have to touch on it here, okay? Which is this idea of a virtual environment, which is another set of words which doesn't really mean much. Okay. Now again, I have to make sure that people are following. By following, I don't mean like, oh, I understand exactly what that does. I just mean you understand the shape of things. Okay. I understand that when the front end had its own server running, the back end is going to have its own server running. Those two servers have to be running at the same time for the web application to work. Okay, I understand that there's some package manager somewhere that installs things, right? That's what I mean by following. Okay. Of course, if you're already familiar with these things, you were already following before the session even began. But I'm kind of interested in those people who are like twos in the beginning of the session. So yeah, I don't know. Andrew, if you're still here. Okay, Andrew's gone. Connie's here. Let me know if you have any questions. Oh, the recording. Oh, this session is being recorded, by the way. I don't know if you knew that, which means that you can go visit this again and work through some of the things. Again, I will go through the installation of the other stuff, probably as a separate video that will be shared in the group as well. Okay. So I want to, actually, you know what? Let me just check the time here. Okay, it's fine. Let's run the backend and do some AI prompting, and then we can call it a day. Let's see. So when you're working with Python, you need to make sure, first of all, some computers have Python installed. System-wide, in the entire system, Python is installed. Okay, in the entire system, Python is installed. This is the case for if you are on a Linux computer. You usually have Python installed in your system, probably on Mac OS too, although I cannot confirm that because I don't have a Mac, okay? But Python is installed somewhere. It's already being used by your system, okay? The last thing you want to do is to interfere with the packages that are already working in your system. So like if I install, maybe my system was using version 3 of something. Let me see. Okay, I overestimated my ability to stack boxes. Maybe my computer is using version 3 of some package. Okay, and again, a package is just software. If my own project uses version 4 of that same project, the last thing I want to do is to have these two things clashing, okay? Is to have these two things clashing because the version that the package version that my computer is using is not the same as the package version that my project is using. So what I don't want to do is install this new thing that could possibly clash with the thing that was already there in the same system, okay? I don't want to have this, right? Because bad things can happen if you have this. And so in Python land, you can say, okay, look, I have a separate Python project, and I understand that if I just install the packages into the computer the way that it is, all these packages may clash and my computer may stop working, okay? What I'm going to do is I'm going to segregate my project. I'm going to segregate it. It's still in the computer, but it's its own Python environment where I can safely install whatever version of packages that I need to install without this environment interfering with the stuff that's already in my computer, okay? That's what a virtual environment is. It's just a separate, well, environment. There's really no better way to explain this without using the word environment again. It's a separate environment which is specific to your project, okay? Where you can install whatever packages you want and be rest assured, and you can rest assured that this arrangement of Python packages that you have in this project is not interfering with the computer, is also not interfering with other projects that also use Python, right? So it's kind of like a little wall around your project, okay? So in Python land, the typical first step to do is to create a virtual environment, just to create this like segregated area before you install packages. Notice I did not do that when I was installing the front end packages. I just did PNPM install, okay? PNPM is smart enough to figure out what versions already exist in the computer and, you know, not to make them clash. But on Python land here, I have to create the virtual environment first. So I'm going to go Python. That's how you do it. Python. I'm going to do -m. -m just says I'm going to run a module. Don't worry what that is. Imagine it like a package. And at this point, I've used the word package to mean different things. And that is another thing that you should look out for in like this tech stuff. People use the word package to mean one thing, and then package to mean another thing in a different context, and then package to mean everything. Sometimes they'll use module to mean package, right? Those things are interchangeable and can be confusing. But okay, I'm going to run a module. Let's see, Python called venv. venv is let me just call it a program. Okay, a library, that's another word that people use that may be confusing. That is already, when you install Python, you have venv included for you. And venv's job is to, well, one of its major jobs is to create these virtual environments for you, okay? Like we saw over here. venv, okay, I'm gonna hit space. Now I get to name my virtual environment in the same way that you name a folder, right? Just so you know which virtual environment is which, just give it a name. I'm going to give it the same name, venv. Understand that I do not have to, okay? The fact that these two things have the same name is a coincidence. Like I could have named this something else, maybe like, let's see, Akili, Kesho, web, then venv. You know, I also don't have to have venv in there. I could have just said Akili, azk web. Okay, I could absolutely do this. Okay, and actually, when I hit enter, some time's going to be taken. The speed of this process of creating a virtual environment depends on a number of things, your computer, et cetera, et cetera. What else is happening on your computer and all that stuff. But I can see that something happened. I didn't get any message that anything happened. However, if I do ls, actually should have done this before. If I do ls and hit enter, what can I see? Okay, I can see there's a readme.md. There's some kind of API. Look at this, AZK web. This was not there before. Okay, so this is the virtual environment, which really is just a folder, okay, in which we're going to install the Python packages for the backend, okay? And to do that, I have to do something here. Okay, I have to remember this is Windows. So, is it? Hold on a second. Let me just try something. Let me just try something, because this is git bash. So let me just try something. Okay, web. Okay, yeah. Okay, gotcha. How many controls? C. That was just an experiment to verify something. Okay, so I want to activate this virtual environment, because right now we just created it. Let's see over here. We just created the environment. However, we have to make sure we tell our computer, okay, by the way, everything I'm going to do Python-wise is going to be in here, okay? Like, please know that anything I do with Python is going to be done in here. Okay, so we haven't done that yet. We have to do that. The next command does that. It kind of activates the virtual environment. The way you do it on Windows is different from the way you do it on Linux. So on Windows, let's see, I believe dot slash, let's see. It's a backslash, okay. Dot slash AZK web, which remember was the name of our virtual environment. I'm going to hit tab. I can see that I have a scripts folder. Why do I know it's a scripts folder and not lib or include? I've done this before, so I know it's a scripts folder. Okay, many tutorials online and article, that's how I know it's a scripts folder. Okay, scripts. And, I expected to activate. 1 second, let me see, Python. Is that gonna work? Let's see, python.exe. It's actually gonna work. Let's see. Okay. If I've done this correctly or not, I will know with whatever the next line is. I think I did. Because I expected. Yeah, I don't think that was the way I should do it. This is a nice, okay, first of all, if there's a mentor here who clearly can see what I'm doing incorrectly here, let me know. However, okay, /scripts, I expected something like activate over here. Okay, so here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to exit out of here because it's clear that nothing's happening the way I intended. Actually, I'm going to close this. And I think I will have better luck in PowerShell. So we were using git bash, okay? However, this activation step is a little bit different than what I'm used to seeing here. Let's see, lib script. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the backend folder still, but I'm going to do it via PowerShell. Let's see, via PowerShell. So I've just typed PowerShell and I have yet another terminal. So one thing you may notice is you can have many terminal programs on the same computer. I have PowerShell running here. I have the front end running on some other thing, but it's on git bash, right? So you can have as many of these as you like on your computer. The reason I'm going to git bash is I have a theory that whatever I was trying to do with the Python virtual environment, which we saw over here, is going to work better or is going to work correctly the way I expect on PowerShell as opposed to git bash. That's the only reason I'm changing. Okay. However, some of the things are the same. For example, I can copy this. Let me close this. Okay, so it's asking me if I want to close. Okay, I think it ran Python, but let me close this. And on here, different user interface, but I can still do CD. And I can do that. And in fact, I can go here. I can still do ls to list the files that I have. I am going to remove the AZK web one, which, okay, here's the thing. Okay. So RM still works. So what I did was I want to remove the virtual environment that we created earlier just to start from scratch. So I'm going to do RM, which usually is a command that will help you to remove a file from the command line. And I'm going to say AZK web. Okay, I hit tab just then, by the way. Let's acknowledge that. I hit tab and that completed for me that. However, if I hit enter, this is a folder. It has many files in it. So Windows is trying to tell me, hey, look, do you want to remove everything in here? I want to say yes. Actually, yes to all. I'm going to say capital A here. And if everything goes fine, okay, I can see that I'm back to the prompt over here. By the way, the prompt is just the thing that waits for you to write a command. I'm back to the prompt. It looks like nothing changed, but if I do ls to list the files and folders, suddenly the AZK web is gone. Okay, so that command was a success. Okay, so now let me reconstruct the virtual environment. The way we did it was, let me see, Python -m venv. Venv is the thing that creates the virtual environment. And okay, you know what? Let me call it AZK web still, just to. All right, so different terminal, same command. Okay. And now we wait for a couple of seconds. Over here. Okay, and then we verify. I can verify that the AZK web folder has been recreated again. Remember, we removed it just a second ago, and indeed, it exists right there. And so, the moment of truth. Let me just verify that the thing, activating the virtual environment would have worked in PowerShell. I'm going to do /. Okay. AZK web. I'm hitting tab, by the way. So if I just hit tab, it's going to go through the options I could hit next. I just want AZK web. When I'm done with AZK web, I'm just going to kind of move my cursor around to get it out of that autocomplete mode. I'm going to hit tab again. So it's going to go scripts. Okay. I want to stop at scripts. And I want to go here. That's what I was expecting. So activate is how you activate the virtual environment. This activate was not present in Git Bash, okay? However, because I'm using PowerShell, which by the way, you can see over here by the PS at the beginning over here. Actually, you know what? Let me clear the screen so everything's at the top. Interesting. So because of, I did Control L to clear the screen for those of you watching this in the future. Usually I've been typing clear, but Control L is a way that you can do that. So I'm using PowerShell, okay, which is indicated by this PS. So I can't just stop at activate. I have to hit tab again. BAT, no, it's not BAT. It's PS1, okay, PowerShell. Hit enter, and we have successfully activated our virtual environment. How do you know? It's right there at the beginning. The prompt initially started like this all the way to the end, but now there is a helpful hint that we are inside the virtual environment. Okay, but the point of this was so we can install the Python packages. Remember, we are doing all this because we want to install these packages that were listed in backend requirements.txt. So we don't have to do this ourselves. We'll let Pip, which is the package manager, one of the most common package managers for Python, we'll let Pip do the work. Just like in the front end, we let PNPM do the work. Okay, so I'm going to say Pip. If you install Python, Pip usually comes packaged in already. Okay, there's me using the word package again in a different context. Pip install. Okay. Now, when we're doing PNPM, that's all. I stopped there. I did PNPM install. However, it's slightly different for pip, especially if you have a file that is usually conventionally named requirements.txt. This is a convention in Python that says, look, the file that has whichever packages or dependencies, if you can recall from this, whichever dependencies that I'm going to install in Python, that file that lists them is going to be called requirements.txt. Okay, you could have called this something else, but in order to be kind to everyone else who is used to seeing requirements.txt in other projects, just use requirements.txt in yours as well. Okay, there are other ways to arrange these dependencies. There are other tools that do dependency management and all those kinds of things. You will hear of poetry, but we're not there yet. Okay, so I have a file. So I have to tell pip that, by the way, everything I'm looking for is in this file. I'm going to -r. Okay, and then I'm going to say require. I don't have to continue the entire word. I can hit tab, and it's going to complete that for me, requirements.txt. Going to hit enter. And just as we saw with PNPM on the front end, here we're seeing it go through every package, figure out who has to come first and all that kind of stuff, figure out who's compatible with whom and who's not, and then it's just installing all that stuff, okay? And it should be done. Well, actually, let me not jinx it, okay? So installing the requirements over here. Now, okay, all right. We have an issue here. I've seen this issue before, so it's clear to me what's happening. One of the requirements listed in this file, is not compatible with Windows. I think that's what the message is saying. Yes. If you see error messages, get into the habit of reading them, all right? And you start from the bottom, okay? Start from the bottom going upwards. You will find something that will describe the thing for you. However, I'm going to take this opportunity. I know what the issue is, but let's use some agents. Agents are built for this kind of thing. In VS Code, I have pre-installed a bunch of things. Let's see here. Do I have this? Let me see. Okay, still have 41%. That's fine. So I've pre-installed. I'm using Copilot over here. I'm using Copilot free. Okay, because I've taken advantage of the GitHub education thing. You can get some Copilot for free. Maybe we'll talk about that later in the next session. But I can copy here. I mean, the message clearly says UV Loop does not support Windows at the moment. But the only reason I'm saying clearly is I know where to look. Okay, so it's clear to me. But if you don't know how, I'm just gonna copy that. I just right-clicked, and I'm gonna go in here and say something like I'm trying to install what are we installing? Python dependencies from my requirements.txt file. Okay, but I get this error. Okay. Okay, don't worry about this thing that I'm doing. It's perfectly fine. There, I've just pasted it. Now it's probably going to say that one of these things, probably UV loop, is not supported on Windows. Okay, so you can use it if you're on Linux, just not on Windows. I'm going to hit enter. I'm going to see what it's going to say. I could have probably given it this file as well, but I think it's smart enough to. Okay, so it's inspecting the requirements.txt file here. And let's see. Oh, look at that. Okay. Oh, now, because we're using, there's something here. That's so many files. Okay. I get it. Because I'm using version control, by the way, Git is also integrated into VS Code. So last time you used the terminal, but you can also do it visually. But I can see here the red is something that it has deleted, and the green is something that it has added. And so, okay, UV loop was the issue. Okay, much like the error message said here, UV loop is not supported on Windows at the moment. And so what it did was it said, by the way, only install UV loop if the system that is currently trying to install UV loop is not Windows. That's what Win32 is. So it just added a kind of a guard there on this part of the requirements or the dependencies to say, this should only work on something that's not Windows because it's not supported there. That's all it added. Okay. And let's actually commit this change. Before we do that, let me first keep this. Okay, this has changed. However, wait a second. What is all this? Because if you're using Git in VS Code, first of all, you click this here icon, which is currently being abstracted by 754. What that means is 754 changes have occurred in this repository. That's a bit odd because the only thing we changed was one line in the file. It should say one change. Okay, now it's true that we were installing a bunch of stuff, but those things that you install for your project typically are not should not be pushed back to GitHub because it's a lot of noise for anyone who has to look at your repository. And also, it's computer dependent, as you have just seen. I'm on a Windows computer. If I push something that's only supported on Windows, then someone else who's using Linux who clones the repository is going to have some issues on their side. So there is something, these 700 and something files are coming from an unexpected place. Now, I happen to know what that place is. What that place is this virtual environment of ours, okay? The dependencies that we installed, the packages that we installed, are in a folder. And Git sees all of those. It sees all of those. As you can see, if we can, let's see, if we can see the offending, okay, so the requirements.txt, we want that to be part of a change that we're going to commit. But everything else, yeah, as you can see, the hint is right here, backend AZK web. Okay, we haven't told Git to ignore things that happens in the virtual environment in AZK web, and so it's going to do as it's told. It's going to say, okay, I see a change here, I see a new file here, I see a new file here, which is where those 700 new changes are coming from. Okay, so I have to tell Git, look, just ignore everything that's in AZK web. Okay, don't track any changes in there. I'm not going to push this to back into the repository. I'm just using those for my local development. And so, oh, I don't think you saw this last time, and I may be stealing some thunder from the next Git session, but the way that you tell Git to ignore things is via a git ignore file. Okay, so there's a git ignore file here, and all I have to do is to go in here. Well, and somewhere in here, I should mention AZK web folder should be ignored. I'm going to do that at the top. I know that the naming that I have here is not exactly, the arrangement of the things I'm ignoring is messed up now, but I want to say AZK web. But I have to add something else because it's okay. I don't know if you saw that, but let me see. Note the color of AZK web right now. Let me remove it. Note two things. This number and the color of AZK web. So if I remove AZK web from the git ignore file, what happens? Let me see. I get the 755 back, and AZK web is green. If I do AZK web, which is our virtual environment, which we don't want to include in our repository, the number drops down to 2 changes that have happened, and AZK web is now grayed out, which means it's being ignored, okay? This is part of that IDE. This is an integrated development environment. All that stuff just works, okay? If I ignore something, it goes gray and the changes are ignored and this number drops down to just 2. All that stuff happens in this integrated environment over here. I will add a slash there just to mark that it's a folder. Git was smart enough to know what I meant, but I'll just add that slash there just for convenience. Okay. Oh, just for consistency, because I have slashes everywhere else as well. Okay, so we've made a change to requirements.txt. Let's see, if I click here. Okay, requirements.txt. Okay, first of all, the first change is we changed the actual git ignore file by adding azkweb right there. So that's one change that has been grabbed by Git. The other change is we've changed the requirements.txt. That's what Copilot did by fixing this UV loop thing that was giving us trouble over here. Okay, over where I did it in PowerShell. Okay, okay. And so I can't find the PowerShell. There's so many icons down here. And so let's commit those changes. In the previous session, you did this in the terminal. I'm just going to show you a different way of doing it. This is the way I do it, just to save time. And so we have changes here, 2 changes. Currently they're just normal changes. I'm going to hit the plus sign. I could have hit the plus sign on the individual files, but because I know I want to mark these 2 files to be committed, I'm going to click changes over here. That will do both of them at once. Clicked plus. Oh, these 2 files have now moved from changes to this new thing called staged changes. A staged change is a change that is ready to be committed right now. Okay, so in other words, if I go up here, remember how you typed a message in the previous session? Yeah, you have to type a message here. Okay, so I can say, what is this commit going to do? What has changed? Let me see. So this commit is going to, let me see. This commit is going to fix the UV loop installation error. Okay. But I've done 2 things, haven't I? So that is true for the requirements.txt file, but in the git ignore file, I added azkweb to git ignore. Typically you would have 1 message per change, not per individual change, but for a related class of changes. Okay, so actually, you know what? Let me start with the git ignore one. I'm going to remove requirements.txt from here. From the changes, now it's back to changes. It's now not in staged changes. And now the change I'm going to commit has to do with the git ignore file. So I'm just going to say, this commit will add azkweb to git ignore. I don't even have to say the file name specifically because Git is smart enough to know what has changed. Okay, but okay, I'm still going to do that just because I have space to do it. I'm going to commit that. Okay, and then this whole requirements.txt thing is a separate concern. Okay, so I'm going to commit that separately. Plus, and I'm going to say, well, what was the change that happened here? Let me zoom out because there's a lot of things happening here that. Let me close this. Let me close that. Let me actually also close this. If you click on a file that either in changes or state changes, you will be able to see what has changed via hints that are given to you by color. So I can see that if maybe I went for to eat some lunch and I came back and I forgot what changed, I can click on this file and it shows me a side-by-side view. The red stuff is the stuff that was removed. The green stuff was the stuff that was added. And so now I can say, oh yeah, this was UV loop. I remember. So let me go to the message and say, this commit will do what? Will fix the UV loop installation error. Okay, there we go. I commit that. Okay, but I've committed it. It's still on my computer though. I have to let GitHub know about it. So I'm just going to click this button to send the stuff that I've committed back to GitHub. In the terminal, this is where you would type git push. It's gonna just think for a while, and now it's gone. So now everyone who is collaborating on the project now knows that I've made those 2 changes. Okay, but anyway, so let's go back to here. Let's go back to here. Okay, so we had this error before. This is where this whole thing started, by the way. Yeah, I know it's hard to keep track of where the tangent was, but this is the thing we're trying to fix from the very beginning. There was an error here when we were installing with pip. So let me try that installation again. Let me just control L to clear the screen. And let me call the pip install requirements.txt. to install the dependencies there. I hit enter. There are many, okay. Yeah. Oh, look at that. It ignored UV loop because it doesn't match my environment. What environment? I'm on Windows, and UV loop is not supported there, so it just ignored it. In other words, the fix was correct. Okay. So now we can see a bunch of stuff is being installed. We're almost there. We're almost there. Much stuff. I don't know how big this screen recording is going to be. Yeah. On the order of gigs, probably. But let's see. So I'm going to let it think for a second. And while it's doing that, remember our front end was like so. Let me see. Our front end was like so. This is not really what, this is from a template that I use to make my own stuff. I want to change it. And you know what? I can ask Copilot to do it. Okay. I could have done it myself, sure, but that would have taken so much time. And frankly, we're already overshooting the time here. So here's what I want. Because remember our requirements, at least the requirements that I said myself, in my opinion, was what counts as a web app, interacts with the browser with some interact inside of a browser with some interactivity, dynamic content, and data storage. We may strike off the data storage, at least, but we'll still store data. It's going to be on the browser. Okay, so this is a simple thing I want to make. So it was definitely simple to describe. I want to have a box here where I can enter my name. So something like this. Remember how I said I like to sketch? I have my name here. Maybe some instruction to enter a name. I enter your name. And you know what? What do I want to do? I would like to have the name printed here. Let me see. In case you're wondering why I'm going through the trouble of drawing this, I'm actually going to screenshot this and give it to Copilot to make those changes. And I want to, when I hit enter, maybe there's a submit button somewhere in here. When I hit enter, I want it to say, hello, someone's name. Let me see. Your name backwards is something or the other. Okay. Now, would you ship this for your users? Probably not. Okay, it's not really solving an issue, but I just want to demonstrate that I actually want when I click submit or something, when I click submit, I actually want it to go to the backend, to the API in the backend. So let me see. Maybe submit or something. Submit. See how good. Okay, submit. Boom. So when I click submit, it's going to go to the backend, and then it's going to give back a response, which is going to be displayed on the front end. Okay. Is there going to be some storage here? I don't see any storage being done here. Okay. I'll handle that in the prompt that I'm going to make. Okay. Okay, so I'm going to screen grab this. With F1, you probably can't see this part on your side. And I'm going to say a couple of things. I'm going to save this to the desktop. You probably, I don't know if you can see this part, probably not. UI to make. Okay, I've saved it. And now I'm going to zoom out. Okay, and here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to get that file over here. See, desktop. I'm going to drop it into here. There it is, UI to make. And I'm going to describe what I'm looking for. And here's what I want to say. Change the homepage. Change the homepage. I should give it some context. So I know that my homepage is in root because I know the structure of this. I know that everything comes down to, let's see, is it main or root? There's underscore root. Okay, change the homepage in the front end. to follow the UI in that image. Okay, now I'm not going to hold my breath and think that it knows what I mean. I'm going to say that is, I should instead have a form that accepts a user's name as input, and makes an API call. An API call just means it goes to the API and does a thing. Well, it makes an API call to an endpoint. An endpoint just means that there are different paths your request to the API can take. I just want a path to be created for this name reversal kind of thing. It makes an API call to an endpoint that reverses the name. The name of the input. Okay, the name reverses the name. Okay, create this endpoint. Tokens have become expensive, and so I don't want to give it too much play, so I have to correct it and use more tokens. I mean, I'm pretty fine for that. I have 42%, but create this endpoint. It does not exist. I like to err on the side of being explicit. Oh, sorry, it's not there. Then return a response to the front end that displays a greeting with the original name. Let's see, with the original name and the name reversed according to the image. I'm going to hit enter and let it cook. Okay. It's probably going to figure itself out. Meanwhile, our dependencies remember we had fixed a dependency issue in Python, okay, with pip, and we haven't run the backend yet though. So let's do that. In the same way that we run the front end, which by the way is still running on here in the other Git bash, let's run the backend. That's the one where the API is, and it can't be reached if the server is not running. And so let me run the server by saying, let me see. Sorry, run. Okay, let's see. Okay, so I'm using uvicorn. Let's see, uvicorn run. I'm gonna run. Is it off.py? Let me see. Good. Okay. Uvicorn. I think. Okay, run app. Something like this. Okay, I have other issues. Let me go back. So we have a no module named backend. There's a reason this is. I'm just going to go one step back. Okay, I'm going to go one step back. I'm going to go out of the backend folder. Okay, it just so happened I ran this command inside of the backend folder, and because of the way things are arranged, that's not going to be possible. So it can't find something that it expected to be there. I'm going to clear that. I'm going to say, okay, now do I do backend? Okay, I don't think this is it. Okay. So I've forgotten how to run this, because I usually do it on Linux anyway, but it's okay. We have here. Remind me how to run the backend with. Frankly speaking, I could have just done a Google, an old school Google search. That could have been faster. With uvicorn here. It is not this. It is not this. What is it? It's probably the way I'm doing backend and run. app there. Backend dot. Gotcha. Okay. It's always one thing. Voila. I won't mind about the other stuff. Let me hit enter. Found the information, pedantic is missing. Okay, I gotcha. This is probably because of the changes that have just been made. So I'm going to go in here. I'm going to paste this in here. Fix this pedantic error. What is pedantic? We'll get there. It's just a way to validate the shape of data that is being pushed to the backend is the expected shape. Okay, let's see. I'll fix that. There's the database settings. Oh, I have another issue. It's not that. I get it. Let me see if it's going to fix that. Okay. Meanwhile, let me check on the backend server over here. Oh, okay, right. We couldn't run it because there's some other stuff missing. Let me see what's missing here. Database settings. Okay, it's probably the database. We haven't. This template uses. It assumes that you have a database running on your computer, and that may just not be the case here because we haven't even touched the database. Let's see. So actually, remove the database stuff from Pydantic and all that. Our application just hits the API and does not store anything at the moment. Okay. Now I'm doing a lot of, shall I say, offloading to the AI, which I have in my terminal, but that's okay. That's fine, because at least I understand why things are going wrong. Okay. You could also offload a bunch of stuff to the AI when you don't understand what's going on, which is fine. You will get what you want. I mean, you will get your UI, you'll get your backend running, but depending on the kind of person that you are, you may not feel fulfilled. This is one of those things that you can have a debate with yourself, but let's see. So I know what's going on, and I just wanted to skip the database stuff entirely, which is part of the clear here, part of the template. So let's try that. Okay, so it one-shotted it. Great. So now a bunch of changes had to happen because of the requirement change. Well, I didn't have the database sorted. So at the moment, I just said, okay, skip all the database stuff. After all, we're not storing this in the database on the back end anyway. So it's safe for it to skip that stuff as well. Okay, but now the backend is running. What does that mean though? Because in the front end, we got this this URL. We put it in a browser. I've just opened another browser. We pasted it there, and we saw a front end. What are we going to see here? We're going to see a message because the backend is running. How is that message there? This goes back to those endpoints. Okay, I'm in the so if I go to my files, actually before I go to my files, maybe let's see if the front end has changed. Okay, so we don't go into another tangent already. Let's see. Okay, so here is the new front end here. Okay, new front end, and let's just test if it's working. So my name is Joseph. So it should say, according to what I described, or at least tried to describe, it should say, hello, Joseph. Your name backwards is, and then my name backwards. Okay, let's see. Let's see. Okay, because it's an AI, oh, you expect this. So what it did is it did not wire up the submit logic. So let me just see if I can one-shot this. Currently, when I click submit, this is one of those issues that you're going to run into a lot with with AIs. Now, granted, part of it is my fault because I literally changed a whole bunch of things with the database and everything. But let me see. Currently, when I click submit, the button does not do anything. Do I need? Okay, part of the reason it may not be doing anything. Okay, it's running. Okay. Okay, so it does a thing there. Does not do anything. I guess you'd call this what? AI-driven development? This is one way to make apps. Let's see. I'll expect it. Now, it is not even a guarantee that when it says it's going to do something, it's going to actually do it. But I actually just want this thing to work right now, and then we can call it a day. And then let's see. Let's see. As it's figuring this out. Oh, okay. Never mind. Yep. When I click a button, there should be something to handle that click. Remember, everything comes from somewhere. So the button needs to know to do that. And so it's just adding some logic on there to do that. Let's see. Let's see here. Okay, so it claims that it has indeed fixed it. Let's see if that's true. Or do I have to restart the backend? I will restart the backend just in case those changes need a refresh. I'm going to Control C, and then I'm going to do app.py. Okay, I don't need to copy this into a browser because it's on the backend. Okay, I don't need to see anything on the front end. It will just quietly accept requests from the front end. Let me also restart the front end folder, the front end server, which has been running this entire time, by the way. Control C to stop the process, up arrow to run this. And then, okay, I can just refresh it at the top there. Let's see, as I try and find, okay, it's fine. Let me just create a new one. Let's see here. Oh, you can't see this. Oh, excuse me. Let me bring it over there. And I'm just going to paste the front end. Okay, now let's try that again. Joseph, submit. Yeah, it's still not working. Oh, there you go. Hello, Joseph. In and backwards is that, which is true. Okay, so what happened here? We're just going to go through the path and then we can call it a day. When I hit submit, where does the backend come in? Also, I should probably hide this. I can do that easily. I can say hide the nav on desktop and mobile. It is not needed right now. It is a bold move to try and make a change when the change you made was already working because something else may go wrong. But I'm going to trust that's an easy change for it to find. Okay. That should have been easier than it's making it look. But okay, so what happened as it tries to hide this? I typed my name and I clicked submit. The front end then made an API call. Let me get back to this here. The front end then made an API call to the backend, okay? To an endpoint or some kind of path on the backend whose job it is to reverse names, okay? Then that process in the backend returned a response that was then displayed on the front end. So it's this request response that just happened. Oh, there you go. As you can see, the nav is gone. We don't need that right now. And so if I go and trace over here, again, there's a lot happening. Don't worry about it. We'll see how to reconstruct this from scratch in the next one, actually. So I see routers, users. Oh, okay, no, this is when it deleted the database stuff. API v1. Okay, yeah, I guess it's here. Okay, gotcha. So let me just keep, oh, actually, I should keep everything it's done so far. Keep. And so what happened is in the backend, this has to be arranged beforehand. In other words, the endpoint has to be there for everything to work. There is a function written in Python, don't worry about this, whose job is to reverse. And so how did the front end know to send this here, right? Because there are many. There's one that counts the number of users that you have, but there's one that reverses the number of users that you have. So this is an endpoint. Well, actually, this is a function which can be accessed via an endpoint if you do it correctly. Okay, so but how did it know to do this here? Well, let's see. If we take a look at the homepage, there's a lot happening here. But don't worry, it's just the shape of the thing that matters right now. Home page. There's a bunch of code here. It's okay, don't worry about it. We'll actually construct this from scratch in the next session because we don't have to go through the Trello stuff again. But let's see. So what I'm looking for, and because this is an IDE, I can just search for something like submit maybe. Where is that? Oh, it's right here. Okay. Let's see, 2 out of 6. Okay, so this is the, let's see, greeting section. This is the submit button right here. Okay, the submit button right here. And when that is clicked, there is a, wait, hold on a second. Okay, there you go. So don't worry about what's happening all the way over here. I just want us to pay attention to line 14. Line 14, this is the endpoint. That's, in other words, in order to do the reversing thing on the back end, if you are making a request to the backend server, please make sure that your request looks like this, okay? So something here, this is a localhost /API/v1/users/reverse, okay? How does it know that this is what it has to be? Because it was defined in the backend, okay? In the backend when the endpoint was being made, I said, well, not I, the AI said that because it just created it, that I will only reverse things if I get a request that looks like this. The shape of the request looks like this. That's part of that API right there. And then after that, it's going to go to the backend over here. Over here, let me, I can split this. To go to the backend, okay, the name is going to be carried as well. I typed in Joseph. That Joseph has to come in here as well in the request. And then it's going to do all these things. And then it's going to return. Let's see. No, it's going to return here. It's going to return the response. Okay. And then the front end is going to receive that response. And then it's going to show it on the page. Now, I have moved around a lot in this code. Basically because I knew kind of what I was looking for. So I knew, oh, this is where it is. This is where it is. But the demonstration here, even if, just to close this out here, okay, I did say how to write your first web application. Technically, we used AI to write it. Just to show you that that's possible, you may run into some things, need to rephrase some things. And also because of time, we use the AI. Otherwise, that would have been 30 more minutes, okay? But I think in the next session, we'll actually set that stuff up from scratch, okay? Because I know people like that, because it feels like you've learned when you do it from scratch as well. But technically speaking, we have written our first web application. I do have to commit the changes here because a lot has changed. And now I could just commit everything at once. I could just click here and say, oh, things changed or something. This is not a good commit message. Please be kind to the humans, okay, who are going to read your stuff and have to find their way. So I'm going to do it in phases. The first thing we did is not the first thing we did. I don't have to do this in order, but I know that the nav disappeared, okay? The nav bar at the top disappeared. I can make that a change. A lot happened on the home page. So let me just commit this. Make the navigation bar invisible. Commit. Great. What else changed? The database stuff was made inaccessible, because the database was its own other thing and it was interfering with the functioning of the application. So there's a whole bunch of red over here, which is, it doesn't necessarily mean it deleted something. It just changed the red to something else. Okay, but we don't need to go into the details right now. I just know I'm going to commit the database here. I'm going to say this commit is going to leave out the database settings from, okay, leave out the database settings from starting up with the application. I guess leave out the database. Okay, leave out the database from starting with the application. Okay, the way I'm phrasing these messages is I'm trying to complete the sentence, this commit will. Okay, so this commit will leave out the database from starting up with the application. That's how I'm doing it. There are other ways to do it. Let me commit that. What else changed? Users also changed. Yeah, so in users, we put, actually, I can do users and homepage at the same time because these are related changes. In other words, users, there was a new functionality to reverse the name, but I also had to have a front end to do that. Okay, so I can make these two. I have judged it to be that I can make these two be part of one commit in one message. You may disagree with that. That's okay. Okay, so I'm going to say add name search. Let's see. This commit will add name search functionality to the home page. To the home page. To the home page. Add name search and API functionality to the home page. So there you go. Commit, and I'm going to push. And yeah, there you go. Whew, that was a lot of information. There's a lot of information. Many of these things will have to be repeated in the next session, especially from the from scratch one. It can be argued that perhaps I used a heavy template, right? We could have done something smaller, but I didn't want to set that up from scratch because of time as well. But we can always do that again. So I will be updating these slides probably when I also make the how to install the stuff that I just assumed existed on the computer, like Python, like Node for the front end. Yeah, I think that's it. Okay, so I'll update these slides, which you'll still have access to because they were in the chat. I think this class is, let's see, we started at any questions? Had any questions? You can still ask any questions. Don't mind about questions asking about Python and understanding the code. We'll probably have a session on that in the coming weeks as well. So yeah, any questions? We've seen how to do Trello, project management. Okay, we've seen how to set that up. That wasn't so bad. We did a live demo. We talked about the web and the component parts. What I'm gonna do is, okay, I love whiteboarding. So to me, it is no bother that this looks like this. However, for some of you who are gonna be revisiting if you're revisiting the video, you'll get things in chronological order, that's fine. If you're revisiting slides though, I have to rearrange these and put this in the slides. So we talked about the components of front end, backend, and database. We talked about what counts as a web app over here. We actually talked about a lot. We talked about what dependencies are, package managers, what those are. We even played with some AI, tweaking it a little bit to get what we want out of it. Okay, refining and refining, we did that. And we actually got a working version of this here, kind of mini web application. Yeah, so I don't know. As long as you remember the shape of things, okay, that a package manager needs to exist, especially if you haven't done this before, the shape of things matters. That shape will be refined and tightened the more weeks the more the weeks pass and the more we have sessions. But yeah, that's kind of a general introduction of what of this whole web development thing and project management. That was a lot. I agree. But yeah, I don't know if there are any questions or statements even or any of all that. I'll refine the repository as well to pare down some of those like the database stuff that we didn't need. Okay, all right. I'm about ready to call it a day though. I don't know if you are in the audience. Let's see. Any emojis maybe? So that you're okay. Yeah, okay. This recording has been, this meeting has been recorded the entire time. So that's good. All right, getting a thumbs up from Martha. Connie, how do you feel? How do you feel about all this? Okay. Get that from Aaron. I'm not sure who Narmik is, but all right. If nothing on your side, I think we can call it a day. Look out in the group for when I post some links to the installations of some of those things. And also after this, I'll clean up the repository to remove the database stuff from the template because we didn't need those today. Yeah, and all that stuff. Okay. Anything still? Going once? Going twice? All right. We can call that a day. Okay, it's been a long day, but thank you for sticking around. And don't worry if the concepts seem still alien. We'll refine the shape of things. The shape is what matters right now. So those will be refined as we go along. Okay? And repetition as well. We'll make stuff sink in as well. All right, so on that, I will say see you next week, I think. Probably before next week, because I have to post all those things I said I was going to post or share them somehow. Okay. But apart from that, yeah, we can call that a day. Hope you learned something. Hope you learned the shape of something. And we'll meet again very soon. Okay, that's it. So leave. Thank you, Aaron. Thanks, Coney, and thanks, Martha. And our make two. And of course, Mr. Edison for putting this together. Yeah. All right. I'm gonna go and try and have food. And kind of get some energy back as well. But yeah, see you guys next week or in the chat in the group as well. Okay. Bye. I'm gonna leave the call now.
Hey, Joseph. Thanks.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
Yeah, just know between when you began till now,
Yeah.
I've had over 5 meetings.
Oh, true. Yeah.
Yeah, so you've really helped, and I think this is really working out for me. Having different pods and different trainers differently, so it's really helping, and I really appreciate what you've done. I'm very sure they reached a point and they felt like, oh my God, this is too long.
Yes, they did. Yeah, they were too kind. They they didn't say that, but I know they felt it. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, it's interesting, and I really appreciate it. So what I'll do, this session has been recorded, even if I kept going off and back. So
Okay.
I'll upload the recording will be available. I think I'll put it on YouTube so that people don't have access issues.
Okay. Yeah.
And I'm very sure they have a lot of questions.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah. So what I can say is in the next session for next week, because the time is going, the same link will be the same next week.
Okay.
We could try to make it maybe say from 11, 12 to 1, maybe that's 2 hours.
Yeah.
Or 3, 2.
Yes, two.
2. Okay, I think let's keep the same time because it should go 3 hours, but 2.5 is perfect.
Okay.
2.5 is perfect, and then the last 30 minutes could be questions if they do have any. Yeah, let's keep the same time. I almost thought like it was the whole day, but it's because I had many meetings.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it feels like the whole day. Yeah.
And exactly. And I think to all the members still, next week when you get to start the session, let them first show you what they've managed to do, what they have, where are they stuck, where did they get stuck, so that it helps you know how to either revise what you covered a bit of it, and then move forward, so that we avoid moving forward, but we are not forward with everybody. Yeah. Yeah, so next week to all members, and I think you'll type it also in the chat, that all members should demonstrate a little of what they've managed to do. It doesn't matter even if it's to click a button on, that's fine. That's
Yeah.
what someone picked. Yeah, so next week we start with a recap for over 30 minutes. And then you pick up from the recap, you cover a few of the things you've covered today, and then you carry on from there.
Okay, it's gonna be fun.
Yeah. Yeah, thanks. And let everyone have a great day today.
All right. Thank you all.
Okay.
See you soon.